name's Steve Rainham. you'll get points for winning the game, second, third, and fourth, which is 7 points for the winner, 4 points to become second, 2 points for third, and 0 points for last. And those are the points we'll use to score the tournament. We're all going to use the same cards at this table. So the way I'll do this is I'll tell you all where to sit. We'll get sat down and then set the cards up as we read them out.
One announcement. Everybody who's participating in the Mindful Olympiad is entitled to a free t-shirt from our sponsors, Pandora. So if you haven't gotten a t-shirt, go to the office. We've still got all sizes. So claim your t-shirts there.
Right, so without further ado, the draw. So I'll read out the names in the order of seating. So the first name at the table is player 1, 741. So for board number 1, in seat number 1 is David Pearce, seat 2 Edmund Smith, seat 3 Matt Tucker, seat 4 Mike Dixon. Board number 2, which we'll put to, so this is board 1, board 2 will go there. That is, I'm going to get this wrong, Ilya? Yulia. I'll get it right by the end of the night. In second seat, Sam Perez, then Ankush, and then William Fox. On board 3, we can go in the corner over there, Andrea Smith, Dale Lithgow, Ziggy Harris, and Nadeed. Table 4, which will go on the one in the middle nearest to me here. Could we please have James Keppel, Rowella Smith, and Matthew Castle and Constance Selby. Number 5, so middle at the back, Matthew Sadler, Ricardo Gomez, Margot Selby, and Stephen Cairns. Number 6, on this side nearest the door, Helder Smith, Danton Post, Cassie Reagan, and Jeremy Lambert. On table number 7, so the middle one on that side, Upin Katani, Emily Watson, Stephen Wright, and Ian Turner. And that leaves on the last table over in the corner over there, Charlotte Levy, Matthew Selby, and Vitali.
Giving the arbiters chair, brave move. Yeah, but it's the arbiter. The arbiter can make it anyone's problem. Oh, did you not know about this rule?
I'm Matt.
David, sorry, Matt what?
Matt Tucker.
Tucker, so you're a lot of Matts.
Yeah, that's true.
And my mind's not one of the ones what. Because there's someone who I haven't seen in 14 years, they expect me to instantly identify them after 2 days. That makes sense now. I think you're jumping away today, but you'll be playing it today. Because registering you're in trouble. I say you're especially got pretty colours, because registering you're in trouble. Warning, this is impossible.
No, that could make things well, it doesn't sound turned off, so you'll never know. I'm still living in ignorance. Okay, so if on your table you get the card set up for your coppers, silvers and golds and your victory point cards, I'll just give everyone a moment to get ready before I announce the 10 kingdom cards that we're going to use. Why not have a chair?
He stole it. There's a chair there.
Oh, right.
I just point that out so it's not me being accused of stealing your chair. Yep. Well, I'm already upset with the table. I can get a chair from that side. I'm sure there's some spare in the memory room. All you need is chicken a chair. What about that? Do we need to check the silver deck? So the bureaucrat like to come into play.
Personally, I wouldn't bother. Even with bureaucrats.
Okay, because myself went kick triggering. How many syllables is this supposed to be?
I'd have to check the rules to be honest. I think
That's the other
245.
It was a zero. It was a zero, in which case it'd be 40. I didn't take my.
Right, we ready for some kingdom cards?
I'll do that first.
So first card is the moat. See if that's useful later. Second card, library. Okay. Third card is the thief. Gave you the moat for a reason. Smashing with random. Fourth card is the market. Hold on, I'm only halfway through. Next is the chapel. The workshop. We have the feast. Feast. Then the woodcutter.
Hi, welcome back to the World Mind Sports Olympiad 2018 here in London. I'm Steve Rain. I'm here with Elaine Decker, is that right?
Thank you.
Is that right? Who's standing in for Paco because Paco didn't have to play Dominion. So we're going to be looking in a sec about Dominion, which is a deck builder. It was the very first deck builder, but since then there's been loads. But there's also been loads and loads of Dominion expansions. And it's just base game Dominion, the first edition, I believe. But we're going to have a look at that in a second.
They will be playing the expansion version later in the week.
So that's a separate event, is it?
That's a separate event, yes.
Okay, and that's which expansion version, or is that any?
I think it's, I'm not sure, to be honest. We'll find out for you.
Okay, find out for later. Okay, so we're going to be joining in a bit. We're going to be joining one of the tables, the top table in the event. I think they're on game 2 of 4 at the moment.
Round 2.
We've got the selection of cards. We'll talk a bit more about which cards work well together and stuff. But before we go into that, we're going to have a look at the intro, so how to play Dominion. So if you don't know how to play or you've forgotten how to play, there's a brief overview. We're just going to have a look at that right now. Hi, welcome to the Mind Sports Olympiad. My name's Steve Rain and I'm going to teach you how to play Dominion. Dominion is a deck builder, so if you've played a deck builder before, brilliant. But if you haven't, I'm going to talk about what that is. But Dominion is a card-based game where you're trying to acquire points using the cards you've got in your hand, and when the game ends, whoever's got the most points wins. Let's have a look. So this is how a game of Dominion is set up. There are going to be some cards in the middle available to everyone in the game. You've got some cards that give you money, you've got some cards that do stuff, and this is kind of the crux of the game, and then you've got cards that give you points. The more of these you have in your deck at the end of the game, the more points you're going to have. But to get those in your deck, you need money to buy them, and you need cards to make your deck more efficient. I keep saying deck, it is a deck builder, and you're going to have a deck of 10 cards. The way your deck's going to be set out at the start of the game, and this is the same for everyone in the game, you're going to have 10 cards, 7 of which are money, and they're worth 1 copper each, and 3 of which are victory points. They're kind of dead cards. They're worth 3 points, but when you draw them, they can't do anything. So if you acquire these cards throughout the game, they go into your deck, they're not actually going to be any good for you as you're playing the game. And the way a deck builder works is you're going to take your 10 cards at the start of the game, you're going to shuffle them up, and you're going to create your deck. So I'm just going to move these down a bit, just so we can see what's going on. And these are the available cards we've got to play with this game. But everyone would have their deck in front of them. So here's my deck of 10 cards, and it would go to one side. So this is my deck, and when it's my turn, I will have 5 cards in my hand. And I get to see these before it's my turn, but I'm going to look at 5 cards, and these will be secret from everyone else. You wouldn't show them. But on your turn, you play with your hand face up effectively, and you can do stuff with your hand. On your turn, you can play as much money as you want. So here, there's 4 money. I can spend all of that if I want to. And then victory point cards, well, they don't do anything. They kind of just get placed down and they do nothing. But on your turn, you can do 2 things. You get 1 buy and 1 action. So basically, when I say 1 buy, you can take as many of the money cards from your hand as you want, and you can spend it to buy one of the cards in the middle of the table. So I could say, oh, maybe I want to buy this card that's worth 2 gold. It costs me 3 gold to buy it, but when I play it in my hand later, it's going to be worth 2. So my hand, the amount of money I've got in my deck, becomes higher. At the end of my turn, what I do, I take all the cards I've used this turn, and I discard them in my discard pile, and then I would draw 5 more. On my next turn, brilliant, I can buy some more stuff. I've now got 3 money and 2 points. Maybe I buy a card. Maybe I decide to buy, in this particular case, I want to buy a chapel. A chapel does something. It costs me 2 money in my hand. I pay the 2 money, play the chapel, so I get the chapel, and then everything that I've got this turn goes in my discard pile. At any point when your deck is empty and you want to draw more cards from your deck, you take your whole discard pile, you shuffle it, and you place it down there, and you draw 5 new cards. You go, brilliant, I'm going to draw 5 new cards. I haven't drawn anything I've bought yet, but eventually you will. And when you start to get to the cards you've bought throughout the game, they start to do stuff. So I said in your turn you've got 1 buy and 1 action. Well, 1 buy means I can buy 1 card with the money in my hand. 1 action means, well, I bought a chapel. A chapel is an action card. It says action at the bottom. Okay? Which means that what I can do on my turn is I can play the chapel on my turn and do whatever that action might be. Now all these actions do different things. Some of the actions, for example the council room, allows you to draw more cards and buy an extra card. So if I was to play the council room on my turn, I would draw 4 more, and instead of 1 buy, That gives me an extra one, so I would have 2 buys. I would be able to buy 2 things. Maybe I draw into some more money and can buy some more cards. The spy allows you to draw 1 card and you gain an additional action, which means you can play another action card you've currently got. And all these cards do different things, and in every game of Dominion you get, the selection of cards out here kind of combo together and work well together. There are other things you can do with these cards, but generally that's the gist of it. You can buy more expensive gold cards to go into your deck, but more importantly, you're aiming to buy victory points. Effectively, every estate you buy, they cost you 2 coins and they're worth 1 point. Every duchy you buy, they cost you 5 coins and they're worth 3 points. And at the end of the game, you count only the green cards that are in your deck for the points you've got during the game. The game will end when one of a few things happens. When a certain number of the common action cards are gone completely, as in the whole deck is gone, and if enough of them have gone, the game will end. Or if all of one particular type of victory point cards goes, usually it will nearly always be the provinces. So that's usually how the game will end. All the provinces will go, which means the game instantly stops. You count your cards in your deck, your hand, and your discard pile for all the point cards, and whoever's got the most points is the winner. There should be 10 cards in the middle, and there should also be coins out.
There should be golds, which cost 6, and they're worth 3 gold each card. Silvers cost 3, and they're worth 2 silvers. And the what are they called? The pennies, I think.
The coppers, I think.
The coppers, correct. They cost nothing, so you can always buy a copper
so
in your
if you
turn.
accidentally lose too many coppers in your hand because there are ways to discard it, you can get them back so that you actually still have a game to go. So before we have a look at our top table, currently after 1 match, we're looking at table 1. We're going to be looking at the Pentamine standings. No, we're not. We're looking at table 1 now. So this is the current table. It looks like they are ready to start. This is.
I recognise Charlotte Levy in the top right-hand corner. We're going to cut out and give you the Pentamine standings. Just waiting for those to come up on the screen. I notice they're still doing a negotiation at that board. Maybe they haven't started the round.
Okay. So this is the current standings of the Pentamine Championships. Not every result is in there. I know that Martin has got a very good Boku score here, so it's not up to date massively. But you can see that
Martin won the Boku today.
He did. He went. He did excellently. He went 15-1, I think. He lost 1 and won 15, which is great. So Martin's up there. James Heppel, the defending champion, is right behind him. And Natasha Regan, who's got a 4th score in, has now moved into 3rd place as a leading female player.
Now, for those of you who are familiar with the Pentamine system, you might be surprised to see that James Heppel has scored more than 100 points in the Settlers of Catan tournament. I'll briefly explain why that is, Steve. This year we're doing an experiment to give some of the events like premier event status, and we're multiplying those events by a multiplier of 1.08, which means that the winner of the event will get roughly about 107, 108 points. Now, James came 2nd in that event, played very well, so therefore his score in that event is 104. It gives him a super boost.
Oh, it's brilliant. Oh, so that makes sense. So basically anything with asterisk is a premier event. I assume that's what it's meant to be.
I believe that's how they've notated in this one. If you look on the schedule, if you look online, it will show you which events are premier events.
It looks like every single person on that list has played in Settlers as well.
Settlers was a very popular event. Curiously, it's not one of my favourite events, but as you'll notice, because it's a premier event, it got that multiplier, and these players will have done very well in that event. Very good players. They've all got very good Settlers scores. It's
nice to see a couple of juniors up there. I saw Marcus Ickler. He was in the Boku tournament as well. He took a game off Andres Kusk.
Fantastic.
Which is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, he played very well. He got a bronze in that. He did very well. It's nice
Andres
to see.
Kursk will be known to some of the Pentamine people. He's won 4 times.
He's won 4 of the last 8 years. Yeah, 1 was a tie, but he's done very well. And James Heppel is the defending champion, but Martin's got another great score from Boku to come in. I'm not sure what James has been doing today.
That'll probably put Martin up at about 350 points then.
Yeah, so like close to like 98 points or so for Boku. That's absolutely great. So we're going to go back to Dominion now.
Alright, so we're actually going to head off to table 2 of the Dominion tournament. Table 1 actually finished just a few minutes ago. We're going to get the Dominion from the start of round 3, and we're going to try and get you up to date with what happened on table 1 as soon as we can.
So So one of the interesting things about Dominion is you've got 10 cards to pick from, and you can see what cards you've got to pick from at the start of the game. So I actually find it really interesting to kind of plan my first 2 turns. So when you've got your first 2 turns, when you're drawing your 10 cards, you will either draw 5 money in one hand and 2 money in another, or you will draw 3 money in one hand and 4 money in another, and you'll guarantee your very first 2 turns will be one combination of that. And I like just look at the cards. So in this particular game here, they had nothing worth 2.
Correct.
So I think
surprising.
I think you were unlucky if you drew 5 gold in one hand and 2 in another, because it means you can't use that 2 gold effectively.
On the other hand, you might decide to use those 2 gold to, for example, put another copper into your hand and use the 5 to buy one of the juicier 5 cards. The laboratory card is particularly interesting, but not too early, because you need additional action cards. So you may be tempted to go for the council room, for example.
The council room allows other people to draw cards as well. So obviously if you go down a lot of council room cards, they can go down a money route. They can get a lot of money into their hands, and you'll be drawing them extra money so they can just buy provinces.
Quite a risky strategy. Okay.
So we're going to come back to the studio. I believe all the games have finished. We've timed it slightly poorly, I think, just to start at the end of a game. We will bring you Game 3 and Game 4. There are 4 games in there, and Game 3 will be the top table. So we will see the top 4 leading players in the event at that point. We're also going to bring you the standings. But before we do that, we have a few interviews over the course of the week. We've had an interview with Giorgio already, some players who have won the Pentamind in the past, and we're going to have an interview with Ankush Khandelwal. He's actually my bridge partner from Nottingham, so I know him quite well. He had an interview with Paco earlier, so we're just going to show you what he had to say to Paco.
Yeah, I am with Ankush Khandelwal, a real legend on Mind Sports Olympiad and a great brain for these strategic games. He has been 3 times silver and the Pentamind and 1 gold shared with Andres Kusk. What is your next goal, Ankush?
Well, hey Paco, it's great to be here again this year. My next goal is definitely to win the Pentamind. My goal, like long term, is to win the Pentamind. You know, to be the best player in my era, and I've only won it once, so I have a lot of work to do in the next few years. But that's what I want to do.
Do you even think that you can beat the record of Demis Hassabis?
Oh, definitely, it's definitely possible.
Good. Okay, it looks like that you play most of the games very sharply. And do you have a favorite one?
I'd say I like a lot of games. My favorite one at the Mind Sports would be Acquire, but I love playing chess and lots of other games. I like Settlers, I like Dominion. There's lots of games I like.
Lots of games. And I know that you are a very good competitor, analyzing your opponents and applying psychology, good psychology on it. What players are the most difficult for you to play against?
I would just say someone who's just very good at a particular game. That's the hardest player to play against. Someone who's just very skilled. No, nothing particular, like, there's no kind of style of player. Maybe at chess, there are certain styles of players I prefer playing against, but at most other games, yeah, nothing in particular.
Okay, if I will have to define you, I will say that you are courage, you are fighting spirit, and you never give up. What do you think? Do you agree?
I'd say that's a fair assessment. I'm very competitive. I always fight to the end, always play for a win from whatever position. I see a lot of players, they sort of give up when they're in a bad position, but I don't believe in that. You can always win.
Okay. What else do you think that it is necessary to become number one? I mean, I know that this was a skill for you, but what do you think that it is complementary?
Just become better, like have a bit more coverage. I'm like slowly improving over the years, I'd say. I'm learning new games and having a chance to win every single event. And also you need a bit of luck. That's very important.
Luck. What is the game that you would like to be recognized as the best?
That's a difficult question. I'd say as the best in the world, maybe a game like Seven Wonders or Prismata. But that's, yeah, maybe those are the games I'd like to be recognized as one of the best in the world. There's no like competitive scene that I'm aware about, but I've just played those games a lot online and I have quite high win rates. So.
Okay, and last question. Is there any player in any discipline that you admire more than the rest, and why?
well, definitely Demis, because he's won it 5 years in a row, he won it 4 years in a row and then another year. So that's a crazy accomplishment that just shows how far ahead of the pack he was in his time. And I'm sure if he played the whole week, like the whole events every year, he'd have a very strong chance of winning. But obviously he's doing more exciting projects.
So we have shared with Ankus Kandelwal time with him, time with one of the toughest competitors here and one of the challengers for the gold in the Pentamine this year.
Thank you, Paco.
Thank you very much, Ankus.
So we have Ankush Kandawal, a good friend of mine. He's had a nice interview with Paco there, so thanks for watching that. Speaking of the Pentamind, obviously the Pentamind is the overall championship, and a lot of people here kind of enter as many events as they can just to try and win the Pentamind. So necessarily, some people will just enter a couple of events because they really care about those events, but some people have a depth and breadth of topics. And I was looking at the overall medals history, and I can see, looking down there in 7th or 8th place, we see Elaine Decker. Elaine, how many years have you been coming to this?
I first came to the Mind Sports in 2003. I actually only played 2 games. One was called Pakru, which I'll talk about in a moment, and the other one was chess. And I think chess is one of the events that actually draws players into the world of multi-games. A lot of chess is probably the largest, most well-known game, I would say, certainly in the West. And a lot of players, when they saw the chess events at the Mind Sports, get attracted to come to the Mind Sports, and then when they come to the Mind Sports, they see all these other games, and they get involved in the world. So Pakru, just very briefly, it's invented by a man from Manchester. It's a game a bit like a cross between chess and Go, quite a dynamic game where you move across the board grabbing territory. It's no longer played at the Mind Sports. It's got its own separate championship that takes place in Manchester in November. So then in 2004, I came back and I worked really hard that 2003. I taught myself Chinese chess, entropy, tons of games, and I actually managed to win the Pentamind in 2004.
Oh, if we go back, let's just double check. He's not lying. He was first in 2004. Well done. Is that the best year you've had then?
That is the best year I've had. Since then, I've been much more involved in organising, to be honest. And in 2008, my daughter was born, so I haven't been able to spend as much time as I would like playing games. Thank you.
That's right.
My daughter's actually a very good Dominion player. When my wife and I, she's only 9 years old, and when we play Dominion with her, she beats us more often than we beat her.
Okay, so she's giving you some tips, and that's why you're here, is it?
Yes, that's correct.
So obviously Elaine's got 101 medals overall. He's got a generous spread. He's actually second in medals behind David Pearce, who we might actually see. He's playing Dominion at the moment. He's way out in the lead on 157. He's got 48 golds, and he's 56 ahead of the next nurse who's sat next to me now. So we've dragged him away. I think David's told me to say, yeah, pick a lane so he can't catch me up, and we've got you in for the commentary. But yeah, so we're having a look at the Dominion standings as well. Mike Dixon is the defending champion. Ankush Kandawal's playing today. He's been second a couple of times. Mike Dixon's actually won twice now. Ziggy Harris, I've not met Ziggy Harris yet. Is Ziggy in the building?
Ziggy's a specialist Eurogame player. For those who don't know, Eurogames is what we're watching now, and Settlers of Catan comes into that category.
Yeah.
Games like chess and Chinese chess and Lines of Action, which we will be featuring later this week, are what are called traditional abstract games. Ziggy's a specialist Eurogame player.
Can you win the Pentamind if you're a specialist Eurogame player, or do you have to kind of diversify?
Well, the answer to that is slightly complex, Steve. The answer is yes, you can if you're a specialist Europe, if you do very well in your Eurogames, but you will need to get a decent score in some other games. You can't constitute a valid Pentamind score only from Eurogames.
So you have to have a mix of maybe like a chess variant and
correct. So what you'll find is, for example, James Heppel, who won the Pentamind in 2017 last year and in 2015, he plays a wide variety of games. He's an excellent chess player. He's won the Lines of Action, which are really good abstract games, but he also does very well at the Settlers of Catan. So I think that players who are challenging these days for the Pentamind title, that's the James Heppel, Ankush Kandawal, etc., they are now pretty much all-round players. Okay. So they're going to be competitive in pretty much all games. They will be weaker at some games, and stronger at others, but they're pretty competitive at all the games.
So if I had to ask you what your best game is, so you've come here for many years, what would be the game that everyone thinks, oh no, I'm playing against Elaine, I'm going to lose?
That would be Pakru. I'm been world champion 11 times.
Congratulations.
I've just lost it. Came second twice. But the other game I really love, I'm actually the top medalist in that, although not the top gold medalist. I've got the most number of bronze, seconds, and silvers and golds, is Entropy.
Okay.
We're actually going to highlight Entropy later this week. I think it's Thursday. For me, it's the game of the MSO. It's been here since the inception. Dominion is a more recent addition to the Mindsports.
2000, that's as old as your daughter, I believe.
2000. Thank you for. I didn't know quite the date. That's perfect. Entropy's been here since 1997. It's a fantastic abstract game. It appeals to players who enjoy backgammon, who enjoy chess, and many of the Eurogame players. Some people don't get on with it so much. You need to be very good at spotting color sequences, and you need to be able to handle a little bit of uncertainty. Some players are traditional perfect knowledge players, which I'll explain in a second, and they do struggle with games like backgammon and Entropy and some of the Euro games. So what is a perfect game? Is that right if I just non-sequitur into what is a perfect knowledge game?
So a perfect knowledge game is where you can work out all your opponent's options on your turn and they can work out theirs and yours.
Correct.
So backgammon
chess is a good example.
Yeah, chess is a good example. You know every piece moves. They've not got any hidden information. Whereas Settlers of Catan, you've got hidden victory point cards and you've got dice. So any game with dice in generally is not perfect information.
Yeah.
You don't know how many spaces you're going to get to move or whatever it might be, or how many resources you're going to get until it's your turn. I believe Euro games generally are not perfect information. There are very few that are.
That's correct. I
believe it's just the way they're built. It's like hidden scoring. You don't know who's won till the end.
There's one game that is perfect information, which was Age of Steam. Do you remember
I've not played it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's an excellent game. That one is perfect information, but it's very rare. Most of them introduce some sort of randomization with the cards, with dice, etc.
Or even bidding, like power grids. But actually, perfect information, apart from the fact that your money's secret, you know how much money you've got, but you don't know how much other people are going to bid on things. So you've got stuff like that as well. So
a lot of players don't make that transition from the Euro games, the imperfect information games, to the perfect information games very successfully. But in order to be a competitive in the pantomime, you will need to make.
So I imagine there's maths involved. I imagine you're playing with the odds a lot. So in backgammon, I know there's a correct move, but the opponent could just roll that 6 and 4 that they need to do you in. That sort of thing. So there is generally going to be, if you do that, you'll win more often than not. And if you continue to do that, you win. A bit like Settlers, there are certain board positions you can start the game with. Yeah, that's probably the best one. That's the best strategy. But if your numbers don't get rolled, then there's something not much you can do.
I mean, both those are great examples. Backgammon is not quite as formulaic as you may have suggested. There's an awful lot that you have to take into account once you introduce the doubling cube.
Okay.
If you're talking about a single point game, for example. Is it okay for us to be chatting about other games? I hope it is.
Yeah, until we get the next game and the next.
Backgammon's one of my favourite games. It's an absolutely awesome game. Most players who are familiar with the rules of backgammon but haven't necessarily played in a tournament will be familiar just with single point games. That's where you set up the pieces, you roll the dice, and you play. Those games are a little bit of a coin toss. If you are a competent player, you will have a decent chance of beating even one of the best players in the world. But where the real skill in backgammon comes is when you introduce something called the doubling cube. I hope that we're going to be portraying one of the backgammon events later this week.
There is a backgammon event. I can't remember which day on. I think it's like Thursday night, maybe.
Fantastic. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about this a bit more in greater depth. But when you introduce the doubling cube, it's where most of the skill in the game is.
Yeah.
For example, if you're trying to play a doubling cube match to 7 points, and your score in the match is, for example, a very low score, maybe you've actually got 1 point, then your strategy would be quite different. Whereas if you're in the lead with 6-1 and you're about to win the match, you need to be more conservative in that place. If you're in the reverse position, if you're 1-6, then you can take greater risks, and those greater risks imply what you should do with the doubling cube, what sort of roles you should be trying to play, etc. And of course, there's a lot of maths involved, working out the odds, etc.
So just at a maths point of view, if you're not in a match, just the doubling cube, if they offer you a double, you should accept it if you think you can win a quarter of the time? Because that breaks
That
even.
surprises a lot of people. Can I briefly explain?
Yeah,
It's actually a third. It's actually a third.
Apologies.
But the reason is, consider the following scenario, Steve. You are offered the doubling cube.
Okay.
And you have 1/3 chance of winning the game. In other words, if you were to just play the game from that point, you can expect to win the game once and lose twice. Now, why should you accept the doubling cube at that point? You're going to lose the game. And the reason is as follows. Imagine game 1, which you win, you would win 2 points. Okay? In game 2, you lose, so you lose 2 points. So now you even Stevens. And game 3, you would lose 2 points.
Because you're only going to win a third of the games.
Exactly.
So, okay.
So you are in total on a score of -2 for those 3 games if you accept every time if you can calculate that your odds are exactly 1/3. Now consider those same 3 games where you drop the doubling cube every time. Or rather, let me just rephrase that. The doubling cube is not offered. Now in the first game you win the game, but you only win a single point because it's not doubled. In the second game you lose the game and you lose a single point. And in the third game you lose a game and you lose a single point. So in that situation you also lose 2 points. So
you lose 1 point, don't you? Net 1.
Net 1, that's correct.
I believe it's 4, isn't it? Because if I reject 4 games, I lose 4 points.
Yes.
If I accept the doubling cube, win 2 and lose 6, I lose 4 points. So I lose
okay,
4 points away.
Thank you. You correct me. So it's
quarters break even, and anything better than a quarter you should accept.
So if you've got 33%, in fact you should be accepting
you should be
cube.
accepting it.
I was showing you an example where you should accept it.
It's different whether they offer it or not, but if they offer it in the situation, rejecting the offer or taking the offer, it's about a quarter, I think.
So a lot of players who beginning backgammon players, they will actually think to themselves, well, they need to be close to 50% to accept the doubling cube, and it's not that at all.
So there's a slight, so obviously if you think, oh brilliant, now I know I should accept every time I'm a quarter to win, but then that doesn't take into account the chance that you get gammoned or backgammoned, because then that doubles things up. We're going to move over to the standings after 2 rounds. We have those now, and then hopefully, given we've got those standings now, we should be very close to a game 3. So I spot a few familiar names here. Stephen Cairns, Matthew Selby, Ziggy Harrison, Emily Watson. I believe that'll be the match we're going to be watching.
Yes, top board.
Because they're on 14 points. That means, given they're playing 4 people games, they've each got 7 twice, so which means they must have won both their first games. It goes, is it 7?
There's 32 people in total, so that's perfectly achievable.
Yeah.
I noticed Mark Dixon, our winner from last year, has only got 8 points, so he's going to be hoping to get 2 wins from the last 2.
Yeah, to score 22, but he's going to struggle to get, because one of these people will be on 21 after this, won't they? So he's going to struggle to actually win it. He might still medal. Ankush Khandelwal, the person we just saw in the interview, he's up there. He's a decent Dominion player. He has won, well, he's come second twice. He's never won the event, he's come second twice. Ziggy Harris is our champion from 2 years ago in 2016. So Ziggy Harris is so far undefeated. Emily Watson came 3rd last year, so well done, Emily. She is possibly set to repeat or even better that. Stephen Cairns has never medalled in this event, so Stephen at the moment is doing well too. I believe, is Stephen Cairns, was he the man who won Marco Polo earlier today?
I'm afraid I don't know. Hopefully we'll get that. We'll get the office to tell us.
We've got the deck of cards in front of us. So if you've played Dominion, we're going to read through a few of the cards we've got in front of us. We've got the Throne Room, the Cellar, the Woodcutter, the Market, Militia, Festival, Chancellor, Mine, Bureaucrat, and oh my God, we've got
the Witch.
So I imagine the games so far have been fast. I imagine now the Witch is in play, they will slow down. So given we've talked about the Witch, what does the Witch do, Elaine?
Okay, the Witch, most of the cards in Dominion are what are called action cards. But a few of the cards, the Witch is one of them, the Bureaucrat actually, which we haven't mentioned yet, is another one, are what are called attack cards. So, okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do is briefly describe the Witch card, and then we'll go to the board itself. The Witch card, when played, means that every other player on the table gets given a -1 victory point card. It's a pretty aggressive card. Now, the typical way of defending against the Witch is to get a card that can trash cards, and you can trash the -1 cards. The other way is to have a card called the Moat, but the Moat is not in play this game. So this is going to be an extremely interesting round. I think this card may be popular.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking through and I don't see anything that says trash either. So I think...
We do have the Mine, but that's for money card only.
No, not only does the Witch give you negative victory points, it gives you a card in your hand that does nothing.
It's
so
a
like
wasted card.
The positive victory points are cards in your hand that do nothing, but they're worth points. These curses are negative points. So I imagine we're going to see a lot of people going quite heavy on the Witch strategy.
Yeah. It is quite an expensive card, so a possible counter strategy is to ignore pretty much all of the action cards and just go for a money strategy.
There is very few cards here that draw more cards. I think just the Market is the only card I can see that draws other cards, and often when I play Dominion I try and go down a card drawing route. Obviously drawing a lot more cards so you finish your turn with like 9 cards and you can play 2 actions is a very powerful thing to do. Here it doesn't look like anyone's going to be able to do that sort of strategy.
The real problem here, Steve, is actually the Witch card allows you to draw 2 more cards.
No, I didn't even read that.
So I think we're going to find a game where the Witch card is aggressively applied.
Okay, so we talked about, so we're going to mention a few of the other ones in a sec, but we talked about that split, if you have that 5-2 split or that 4-3 split on your first hand. So I'm going to ask you, if this is the old game, I've familiarised yourself with the cards, I'm going to say if you had a 5-2 split, what would you be aiming to buy? Would you be aiming to buy a Witch and a Cellar, do you think?
The Cellar is an obvious choice. So the Cellar allows you to discard cards from your hand. Okay, we're gonna cut now to the game room. This is board number 1, round 3.
So we've got 4 players at the table. The names will pop up in a sec. I believe we've got Ankush. So obviously maybe some of the people on the top list have maybe already played against each other, so they've been mixed up a bit. But we've got.
I believe they randomise. There's a certain amount of randomisation goes on the top.
Apart from the very last match.
Apart from the very last match.
Okay. So we've got Emily Watson. Now she was on 14 points. We have Stephen Cairns. He was on 14 points. We have defending champion Mike Dixon, who was on 8, and we have Ankush Khandelwal on 9. So they're going through here. We're going to try and see what these are their very first turn. So Ankush has got a hand with 4 gold in. We're going to try and work out what card he wants to buy. If you had 4 gold.
The one that jumps out at me is the Bureaucrat.
I think I believe that's the one. Yeah, that's the one he got. So what's the Bureaucrat do?
All right, the Bureaucrat, it's an action card that allows you to gain a silver. So when you play it, you gain a silver. But it's also an attack card, so it affects other players. When you play the Bureaucrat card, the players show a victory point card. That's one of the green cards in your view on the far right, the 1, 3, and 6, in their hand that they're about to play. And if it's in their hand, they then place it on top of their deck. The bad news about this, Steve, is that in the following hand, they'll be then drawing that useless victory point card into their hand.
So that's pretty bad. And I've just noticed there's a 3rd attack card. So not only have the Witch and the Bureaucrat, we've got the Militia as well.
Mike Dixon's also gone for a Bureaucrat.
Okay, so everyone's shuffling their hand up again. Everyone's had their 2 turns. And now we're going to start to see some of the cards people have bought. So this is Emily's Militia. Militia gains you 2 extra coins and everyone else has to discard down to 3 cards.
So what you'd be doing typically if you're discarding down to 3 is you'd be getting rid of your useless cards.
So you like your victory point cards or curses if you had any.
If you had any, exactly. Those cards are not worth anything to you. Sometimes you're left with a very awkward choice. You've got a handful of 5 treasure cards and you have to discard 2 treasure cards.
So I think this is going to be a very long game. I think there's going to be a lot of people discarding hands, people getting curses, people just not having the amount of money they need to kind of buy the provinces. Both Emily and Stephen buying some, I believe, silver for...
Money's critical in this game. You have to increase the quality of your hand by going for money. And the Witch card is going to create a hand that's full of cards that can't do anything. So I agree with you. I think this is going to be a long game.
They might not have been buying money, but I believe they were playing. They were actually probably more likely playing a Bureaucrat, gain a silver and put it on top of your deck. Each person reveals a victory point and puts it back on his deck. So I suppose the Militia and the Bureaucrat. If someone's played the Militia, you can discard your victory point cards, and you won't have to put them back on top of the deck with the Bureaucrat. Yep. So I suppose they don't necessarily one. Actually, having them both out isn't as bad as you think. So some of the other cards, we've got the Market. The Market gives you loads of things to do. The Market gives you an extra card, so it means you draw 1 more card. You get an extra action, which means you can play another action card. And it allows you not only to buy 1 more thing, but gives you an extra coin. So I imagine if you get a lot of Witches and Markets, you can kind of cycle through your deck quite quickly.
My favourite card amongst all these cards is the Market. The only thing to say about the market that's perhaps slightly negative is that you can find yourself accumulating tiny amounts of money and not getting to the really valuable
provinces.
The provinces which require
So
8
like
gold.
you're like playing 4 markets, finishing with 7 money and having to buy a duchy.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they're very expensive cards. But however, having said that, they're my personal favourite. I really enjoy playing them.
That's from the card set.
The other one that's really very attractive is the mine. There are a couple of different types of strategies you can use in this game. Because this is a very aggressive deck that we've drawn out, the 10 cards are randomized from about 30, I think. So we've got a witch and a bureaucrat and a militia, which are all attack cards. It may not be the best strategy in this particular game, but with the mine, you can go for what's called a money game, and you can just try and increase the value of the treasure cards in your hand.
I can see Ankush has just got a gold, so he's acquired a gold, whether he bought it or whether he used a mine. I don't think he has a mine. We've not seen him buy one. But obviously, like Elaine says, to win this game, you need to buy the victory points.
Yes,
and to buy them, you need the money. So
you need the money. Yes. You very seldom see people buying the estates, which are only with one. They tend to go for the provinces and
the duchies.
The duchies.
I think you buy an estate if you've got a few buys at the end and you've got nothing else to do. Correct, I think in the very last couple of turns, what you don't want is these cards that are only worth a point continually cycling around your deck. That's someone again playing the bureaucrat. Everyone's revealing their hand of 3 coppers to Mike there.
We've just seen the witch being taken by Ankush. So Ankush is going to start playing the witch. You're going to start people getting the curse cards. If you look in the top right of the screen, you can see the -1 victory point card. Those are the terrible effect of the witch.
Yeah. So how does the game end? Because I got this slightly wrong in our video, didn't I?
Right.
Can you remind us?
If you look in the middle of the board and made into a nice triangle, there's the 10 cards that make up this game. And those are randomized each game. There's also in the upper right the 3 victory point piles, the 1, 3, and the 6. I believe this doesn't apply to the curse card. But if any of those 13 piles that I've mentioned, those are the 3 victory point piles and the 10 cards in play, get taken out, with the exception of the province. So I'll come to the provinces now. So that's actually 12 minus the province. If any of those 3 of those 12 cards get depleted, then the game ends. Also, if the province cards, the one with 6 in it in the middle of the right of the screen, get depleted, then the game immediately ends. So the last person to... Oh my goodness, we've just had someone take
She's bought one already.
So Emily is in actually pretty good position. That means that she's got a very high quality hand to be able to get the money together for a province.
It might mean the rest of her deck's pretty weak though.
It might be she just had a lucky hand that time.
Yeah, she did. I mean, if you have 8 money in your hand, you should probably do it.
Oh, definitely. The province is kind of the aim of the game. We've only seen one witch being bought so far, unless we missed something. All right, Ankush has got 3 money, and he's choosing between the woodcutter, the chancellor.
He had his hand on the woodcutter a second.
The woodcutter is actually a nice card. Can you? Should we briefly describe the woodcutter?
The woodcutter is you get an extra buy. Normally you can only buy once a turn. He's chosen something else. I believe he chose the festival.
How did he get the money for the festival?
I don't know what money he had in his hand. Maybe he had 3 cards, but one was a gold.
Oh yes, we weren't able to see. Yes.
So the woodcutter allows you to have an additional buy and gains you 2 extra coins. So effectively, if you have the woodcutter, you can nearly always buy some silver, because the silver's worth 2, isn't it?
Silver's worth 2, correct.
Yeah. So
the woodcutter's a great card. We've just seen Stephen pick up a witch, so I think we're going to start seeing the witch being played.
Yeah, so
Mike's just picked up a witch.
Okay, so everyone's getting witches. I suppose you're doing it in preparation. If everyone's got 1 witch, you're going to accumulate negative points at the same rate. But if you're the only one without a witch, you're going to accrue negative points quicker than anyone else.
That's right.
So that's what you just don't want what's going to happen. So Ankush is playing several cards. So normally you can only play 1 card in a turn, but some of the cards allow you to play extra cards. So
he's just played a festival card. The festival card allows you to play 2 additional actions. And it gives you an extra buy, an extra 2 coins. So he's pretty powerful card.
He's played 1 festival, he's played 1 cellar, which gives him another action, and he can discard some cards to draw some cards. And he's bought another festival, so he's going to go down the route of witches and festivals, I think.
And if he combines his hand with a festival and a witch, he's going to be able to play both the festival and the witch in the same turn, which is going to be pretty powerful.
Yeah, and then they'll be able to draw more cards with the witch, maybe drawing more action cards, because the festival allows you to play 2 additional action cards. And what you might see as the game goes on is Ankush playing several,
string together lots of actions.
3, 4, 5 action cards at a turn, and obviously once you've done that, you're going to be, it seems like every turn someone's playing a militia, so you kind of need that card draw, don't you? You need to be able to draw into these cards. So the festival's actually stronger than the witch because you need the festival to kind of get going going. If you have the festival and a witch, you can then start to chain into lots of other actions.
What you might start to see players doing now is start to pick up the throne room once they've got a critical number of action
What does
cards.
the throne room do?
The throne room allows the way it's played is you first play the throne room and then you can play an additional action immediately afterwards, and it gets you to play that action twice. So it's pretty powerful. Let's say, for example, you had the market, Steve.
Okay.
You would play the throne room and followed by the market, which would give you 2 additional cards, 2 additional actions, 2 buys, and 2
Oh,
mana.
so the throne room acts like a second market. So the
Like a
throne
double.
says, I'm going to double the next one I play. Okay.
The risk in the throne room is you get a hand, say, full of money and victory point cards, and only the throne room, in which case it's a wasted card.
Quite pro, I wouldn't be constantly drawing the same set every time.
Let's be that person. Double witch. I'm going to get a gold.
So the sound has come on through the table here. It's a bit loud, so we'll see if we can turn that down for you.
Oh, so delicious.
And I will purchase a gold.
Oh, this is really good. Now we can hear what they're buying.
This is
about.
great. This is great.
These cards are
A
silver.
little bit down.
Wow. Ouch. Sorry, I just needed the +2.
She's saying out. She's apologising for attacking people. She's played the militia and apologised for it.
What the reason Emily's doing it, she's playing on psychology. She's trying to, oh, please don't attack me.
I'm sure these people are savvy enough to realise that won't work. I suppose if she's the only one with militia, it seems like she's always the one playing them, although other people have one. I know Ankush has one, I think. I've forgotten his name now. Stephen has one as well.
I haven't seen Emily pick up a witch card.
So there is a chance then that Mike Dixon can still win the event then, if the people with 14 points are split up.
That is true.
So if they're split up into separate tables, then Mike can win this one and 2 14s don't win, and then the other 2 14s don't win either, then it becomes quite open. But if one of these 2 14s wins and is on 21 points, they're in a pretty strong position for a medal.
Could you remind me of the scoring system, Steve?
The scoring system, plays in games of 4. Each person, in the game, obviously you're scoring the green cards, but at the end of the game you count up how many points you've got throughout the game, taking off the negatives. And the person with the most points will get 7 tournament points. And that will go onto their tournament point record. I believe it's something like, is it 7520?
That's what I wanted to clarify.
So I'm not sure about the second number. I know it's 7 something 20. We can try and find that out for you. I think it's 7520 because when you play 3-player, it's 520. So I think it's probably something like 7520.
It's worth pointing out that if the 2 players end up in the same number of points, the tie break between them is who has played the fewest number of turns.
Okay, so if Ankush ends the game and he was the second player, and if someone else ties with him 3rd and 4th, they would actually beat him in the game.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no way you can actually tie here. I'm pretty sure it's 7, 5, 2 and 0. Ankush is on 9, so he's got a... he's probably got a 7.
Stick to what you know, give her the gold. Stick to what you know, just give her the gold. Maybe next time.
Or maybe not. We'll double check for you in between. Once this game's ended, we'll double check. We'll see what we can get for the final game. So basically, you're saying the tables are randomised here. So normally we were expecting all the 14s, but that doesn't happen. But in the final game, we will definitely get the top 4 people in the room.
And the way the final medals will work is that the gold medal must come from that table. But somebody on the second table, or perhaps on the third table, who wins may well overtake the second or third place on the top table, and they could get the silver. But whoever wins on the top table will definitely get the gold.
Okay, so you're definitely playing for the win. You don't have to worry about looking at other tables, what they're doing. You just say, if I beat these 3 people, I'm definitely going to
I win the gold. I just noticed Mike went over and counted the provinces, Steve. This is critical. Quite often the games will end not because you deplete 3 of the other 12 piles, but because you deplete the province pile. And the players are going to be keeping a very beady eye on that pile.
So if you've got a strategy, we were talking about this earlier, if you've got a strategy where you say, oh, this allows me to draw 3 cards and there's 4 more cards and 3 more cards and I can buy some more things, and you buy all these action cards, and all of a sudden you look up and the provinces are empty, you've refined your engine so well that you haven't paid attention to everyone else racing the game.
That's a great point, Steve. Actually, one part of the critical skill in this game is keeping a very, although the game's quite solo, you're not interacting with the players too much, notwithstanding we have a lot of attack cards that's around. You do have to keep a beady eye on what other people are doing, what sort of cards they're getting. Are they going to make a dash for their province pile? As you say, if you get your pile optimized too late in the game, you won't be able to get enough rounds to catch up and score.
But there is a danger in buying them too early. Now, we're generally saying, we've kind of said a few times, that if you have 8 coins, you should probably buy a province. But if you buy too many of them early, your deck becomes inefficient. You haven't bought any action cards. You just sit there drawing point after point after point, and you can't actually do much else with your turns.
However, the province is worth so much,
Yeah.
you probably still need to go
So
for it.
early duchies, maybe. Early estates, no. You don't want early estates.
Correct,
But
yeah.
early provinces, probably. But you don't want to be loaded up there. If you're getting full of... I believe Mike has just played an attack card where people put victory point cards on top of their deck.
Ankush played the bureaucrat.
Okay.
He gained a silver from the power which he put on top of his deck,
And they put points on top of theirs.
and they put a victory. They found a victory point card and they put on top of their card. Yeah, correct. So now their hands will be slightly less valuable with following turn.
But if someone plays a militia in the time goes around, then they can just throw that away anyway.
Okay, friends.
Oh dear, we just had a witch played.
Did you hear the quote he said?
What did he say?
Here you go, friend.
Yes.
And 5 is...
Oh, I noticed they're keeping the witch card out of the pile. I thought the
I
witch
think the card is on his discard pile. So Ankush has
Ah,
got his
yeah,
draw
'cause-
pile to his left and his discard pile
So
to his
he's
right.
going to have to shuffle those into his deck soon, which he's
Yeah.
he's not going to be happy about.
No.
Has Emily bought a witch card yet? I think she hasn't.
I've missed it. I've not seen her give any out. I think she keeps saying sorry when she plays militias, so we will see. I believe, is that another witch? No, it's not.
No, that's just Stephen finishing his go. Yeah, right. We just had another witch played. Oh dear. Okay, so now the only person who doesn't get the -1 curse card is the player who played the witch himself.
That was Mike in this case.
That was in this case Mike.
And he's just
Mike
got
is,
a
oh my
province.
goodness, Mike just bought a province. So keep an eye on that 6 pile. That's the pile that's going to be disappearing first. I believe that. I'm
Ankush has just bought one. Oh no, he's counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 10 left, I think. So
Okay.
the game's still got time to go. I think this will be a slower game than normal, but based on the amount of attack cards in the game, just making other people's decks less efficient.
we've just had the witch played 2 turns in a row. So, and I think anybody who's got the witch is going to play it.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're not going to not play it, are you?
Well, one thing that is quite critical is if you can combine the witch, as you pointed out with the festival, you're going to be able to play both of those at the same time. By first playing the festival.
First playing the festival.
First
yeah.
playing the festival, correct.
Silver and copper that I didn't
So the
reveal.
festival's only really good with another action card in your hand, because if you play the festival to get to allow to play two
You don't
more
get the
actions,
cards.
and you don't. Yeah, if you don't have that other action card.
So it can be a bit of a risk. That's one thing that I quite like about the market is you always get an additional card.
Yeah. The market is good. They're both worth 5. I think the market is my personal preference. I just like drawing cards though.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So Ankush is close to shuffling all those curses in.
Yeah, I was on it.
Okay, so the way the mechanics work is when you deplete your deck, you then shuffle all your cards in your discard. In this case, as we look at Ankush in the bottom right, his discard pile is close to his right hand. He's picking it up, starting to shuffle it in. Technically, he should actually shuffle in his following deck, but I think the other players will be okay with this.
Sell away this rubbish.
What is he going to do? Is he going to put it under his pile? That's a bit naughty what he's doing.
You
there.
shouldn't do that yet,
Yeah.
because he might buy a card in his turn that could then go into his deck.
Yeah, we'll see what he does. He should technically not include it in his deck. He's
no,
not.
he hasn't.
Okay, he hasn't. No, well done. Okay.
Oh, he's got another curse.
Oh dear.
That will go into his...
That'll be shuffled in with that card, yes. Okay.
that was another curse from Stephen. So Stephen was giving out a few witches. He's probably got more than one witch, because he's played 2 witches 2 turns in a row.
He must have more than one witch. I imagine someone like Emily, who I don't think has bought a witch, has probably got a fistful of -1 curse cards now.
Yeah, but she was first to buy a province, so she might actually have the most cash cards in her hand.
I would be tempted to go. My daughter's very keen on going on the money strategy. If you don't see an obvious bunch of actions to do, forget about the action cards, more or less. I mean, there's some ones that are particularly good. Maybe perhaps the mine, for example, was good for
Oh, 'cause
money.
you can play a
And
festival.
just go for the money. Just go for silvers and golds.
That was when I first played. That was the first strategy. I believe. I thought I can see other people drawing like 8 cards a turn. I'm like, well, that's how I win the game. I'm just going to get money, and that's kind of the strategy I went down. I wasn't super uncompetitive. I came like a very far second. The person who won by quite a way.
I think you have to play to the board. You have to play to the cards that are drawn.
Ankush is shuffling his deck. He's got a lot of cards in that deck. So earlier we saw the Gardens. He was one of the cards we didn't get to actually see being played.
Yeah, the Gardens is a great card for victory points. The way it works, Steve, is you get 1 victory point for every 10 cards you have in your deck. So if you can get a card that gives you additional buys, the Garden can really be like a bit of a booster for your score at the end of the game.
Sorry, Stephen just played another Witch.
Okay, so people are not going to be happy with Stephen at this point of the game.
He's not actually gaining any extra actions. All he's doing with the Witch is giving people points and drawing extra cards. He's hoping to draw into extra money just so he can buy victory point cards, I guess.
Do you know what happens when the -1 curse cards are used up?
Yeah, so you pass them around clockwise until you run out. So if Mike played the Witch and there was only 2 -1 cards left in the deck, if Stephen played the Witch, Mike would get 1, Ankush would get the other, and Emily would not get 1.
I wonder if that's played into Emily's calculations, that she might get 1 less curse card in the other.
It might be, yeah. It might be. We don't know. I don't think that's the case. I think she's just ignoring the Witches and doing other things.
All right, we just had Ankush bind. Let's have a look at that pile. I wonder if someone will count it.
At some point they will. I think it was 10 last time we looked. It's probably somewhere like 8 now. But look at Ankush's hand.
Look at his hand. See, Ankush's hand, he's got, 4 money, I think?
Is it 4 money? And two 6-pointers and a -1 pointer.
All right, Emily's stringing together multiple actions.
So this is what we thought Ankush was going to do, but maybe Emily's just doing something else. So Militia. So Ankush is going to discard some of his useless cards.
Oh, Ankush's probably not unhappy about that.
Yeah, but he's got a rubbish hand anyway. He's got no actions. He might just have to buy like a
silver or something like that.
Well, I wonder if he can afford a duchy. If he's got 5 money, he might buy a duchy.
I think with the provinces now, if you look at the provinces, they're going to deplete now within the next 2 rounds. So I think the players now have to start buying the 3 and 1 points.
Buying points. So this is although it's a deck builder, it's an engine builder at heart, isn't it? You are refining your deck into an engine that churns out victory points, and it's
a good way to put it.
And it's the point, and I don't struggle too much. It's not great, but I know some people really struggle with it. When to change from building your deck, building your engine, into churning through the points.
Yes, that's a great point. I think that's where a lot of the skill comes in.
I believe there's 3 6-point cards left.
So with the only 3 6-point cards, I expect those 6-point cards to go within the next 2 rounds. So there's almost no point in getting money cards at this point.
Ankush bought an estate.
Yeah. So the players should not be buying money at this point because you're never going to get it back into your deck. Yeah. So the players will only now buy 1, 3, and 6-point cards now. Or play the Witch card. The Witch card is also effectively a 1 point to yourself because the other players get -1. Having said that, you do get some very strange games where the players see the province get depleted and they just keep buying provinces.
Cheaper stuff, and
then the quality of their hands go down. All right. Stephen has dished out a lot of curse cards in this game.
Yeah, I think he's done very well. I think if he wins, that's going to be the reason why. Ankush has got, we've seen he had 3 provinces visible at one point, so he might have quite a few of those, we don't know.
All right. So Stephen didn't have enough to buy a province, so he bought a duchy, which is a wise move, I think, at this point.
But the other danger is if you start to, like when you're churning your engine, if you think, right, okay, I'm going to start buying victory points early, you make your engine less efficient, and people with more efficient engines can actually outbuy you later on in the game.
Yeah.
So it's a really tight decision about when to kind of do that switch.
And of course you can play optimally, and the cards don't come out in quite the right order for yourself.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of randomness. Ankush is just
province, yeah.
Wow, Ankush. I think Ankush is doing well.
I think from what I've seen, I think it's going to be Ankush or Stephen.
Yes.
That would be my guess. Stephen because he's been mean to other people, and Ankush because he's bought quite a few provinces. I mean, Ankush has just got 4 money cards in his hand there.
I wonder whether he will buy the last. Okay, we're now going to see if the last province, when that last province card goes, the game ends
instantly, doesn't it? So there's no more turns.
So
if Mike afford it?
So he has.
His hand now.
Can we scroll the camera down a little bit and see what he's got?
He's going to draw something. Oh.
Okay, he's just played a Witch, which is a decent card to play. Everyone goes down by -1.
He draws 2 more, doesn't he? No, so can he afford the province?
Can he afford the province? This is the critical. He's got it. Okay, game ends. All right.
So I think if Ankush could have got that, he might have won, but we'll see. They're going to count the points now, and doesn't matter what they've got in the deck. All that matters is the green cards
and
minus the purple cards.
Correct.
Normally, it's just the green cards. The purple.
Now, if you did have a garden at this point, all your cards would count because you need to count from groups of 10 for points.
So Ankush.
Could we perhaps go to the players and let's listen to their negotiations? Not negotiations, rather counting, Steve.
So,
Still not bad.
21.
Someone said 21.
So Ankush has got 27, but lots of curse cards. So I think Stephen's won.
Stephen's got 21, I think he said.
Stephen's.
Ankush has got 21 as well.
And you were complaining about going last as well?
Oh no, I've not counted
22. 22. I think Ankush has got 21 as well.
Yeah, I've got 14.
No, 24 minus 4 is 20.
13.
Minus 4. These 3 ones there. They cancel out, and it's 24 minus 3. 21.
Oh, I see how he's ranging. Okay, so Ankush is finished on 21.
I think Stephen's on 21 as well. I think she's on 13.
27, 30. Oh, Mike's got 25, I think. 15, 27, 30. He's got 25.
12, 21. I think this is 24, isn't it?
Oh, hey.
Oh,
They're
yes,
threes.
yes. Yeah,
24.
threes, yeah.
So I think Ankush has won, and I think if you heard him saying, he was complaining about going last, but I believe
because of the tiebreak.
Elaine's comment earlier, the tiebreak is the person with the fewest turns. So I think Ankush has won on a tiebreak from Stephen, and Stephen beaten Mike, because Mike had about 18, I think, and I think Emily has 13. We don't know the exact scores, but in a second we're going to get the standings.
Now Stephen started this round with 14 game points.
Stephen did, yeah. So Stephen will have, we think, 19.
We think he'll have 19.
Ankush will have 16.
So Ankush could definitely still win the tournament if Stephen only comes third, for example.
Yeah, it depends on the other people who had 14, I suppose.
I suppose Mike got 2 points from this game, so Mike's really out of it now. He's only got
10
points, yes.
We'll have to double check how many points it's worth a game. We're going to get the standings before the next game, but we're just going to watch them clear up. We do have another interview for you. We're going to show you in between the games. We're going to hand these cards back. We're going to have a look and have a bit more chat about what went on there. But the other interview is with Noah Martin. Noah Martin earlier talked to Paco about his experience at the Mind Sports and the Pentamind in general, and Paco has this to say.
Okay, my name is Paco de la Banda, and I am with Noah Concepcion, a Spanish junior, staying here in Mind Sports Olympiad. And Noah, how old are you?
I'm 14 years old.
14 years old. And you come from La Palma?
Yes.
Where is La Palma?
It's in Canary Island in Spain.
Uh-huh. And this is the third time that you come to the Mind Games Olympiad, and how do you feel?
So I feel so nervous, but I think that I can do well tournament, so I have got a lot of experience.
Oh goodness, with your age is very impressive. What is the difference between this time and 2 years ago when you start coming here?
So when I came the first time, I was so nervous and I don't know something of the mind sport, for example, the plays of the rivals, but now I know how plays I'm stronger and who are my rivals. Also, with 2 experience years, you can learn a lot of things.
Okay, very good. How many medals have you got in these last 2 years?
So I have 3 golds, 4 silver and 2 bronze.
3 golds, 4 silvers and 2 bronze.
Yes.
And any of them were not junior, I mean global medals?
No, it's all junior.
All junior. Okay. What is the most important for you?
Is the silver on the Pentamind because it's a result of the 4th in the whole year.
Uh-huh. So you were silver in the junior Pentamind?
Yes, last year.
Uh-huh. And who was the winner?
Kunokol.
Uh-huh. The Estonian?
Yes.
It was difficult to beat him? I mean, did you think that you could try to be gold or...
I am going to try.
This year, okay. Do you prefer to compete with juniors or do you like to play with senior people, with stronger players?
I prefer to play with senior because I think you can learn more and you can know more strategies that you can use in the future.
Uh-huh. You have said before that maybe you are going to try to be gold. What is your next goal in the Olympiad? Just becoming gold in Pentamind Junior or?
Yes, but I also would like to take a medal in the woman Pentamind.
In the women per domain, very good. So you can try both things at the same time.
Yes.
Okay, I think that your personal strategy games come experience from chess. Tell us something about your chess experience in La Palma.
So when I start chess, I saw that it was a very good game, and I start to play other strategy games, and I play, and I going to know more about the strategy, and I think that many of the games that we play here have got the same base of the chess. So if you are a good player of chess, you can play very good many.
So it has been useful for you to have a chess experience
Yes.
to then to broad to other games.
Yes.
Okay, and regarding these other games, I know that you have been in the Aprender Jugando educational program
Yes.
in La Palma, and how was important? I mean, how important was this project in your personal life?
So with this project, I learned a lot of new games that I don't know about it, and it's very good to play with other people. And the evening where you haven't got anything to do, you go to play with other people, and you can learn and train your mind.
Okay, train your mind. Okay, and after knowing so many games, what would you say that is your preferred game?
So I think my preferred games is Puerto Rico, because I think it have got many strategies that you can use and know how you have to do in a moment of the game. It's so difficult, but I think it's so interesting.
Okay, so Puerto Rico is going to be in Friday.
Yes.
And so we will see if Noah is able to be gold in Puerto Rico. Okay, thank you very much, Noah, for coming here, and it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, best of luck, Noah, on Friday. Thank you, Paco, as well, for that interview. It was very well done. Thank you. We're just going to go back to Dominion in a bit for the last board. Now, the last board is the way it works is that the top 4 people in the field will be put together on the last board, and more importantly, the person who wins the last board is guaranteed gold, even if they don't have as many tournament points as the person who does win. So, for example, if I'm 4th going into the last round, I'm on the last board. If I win but don't quite overtake one of the other 3 on the scores, I still get gold. So that's something to play for. You don't have to look at other tables going. Anything like that. That's correct, isn't it?
That's correct. In fact, just to clarify, we weren't quite sure the scoring system. The winner of this board will get 7 points, then the second place 4, then the third place 2, and the loser will get 0 points.
Yeah, so we said 7-5-2-0, it's 7-4-2-0.
The top 4 players will probably be within a couple of points of each other, so they will probably also be the winner in tournament points as well. But whoever wins will win the gold.
Yeah, so you'll see in a sec of just the background of the room, people milling about, them sorting the next thing out. They have to sort the cards out for the thing and then pass them to us and stuff like that. But before we do, there has been an update in the Pentine standards. I know for definite that the Boku has been added to the roster. So we're going to have a look to see if there's any change at the top. Is Martin still leading, or has he extended his lead? Let's have a look.
Okay, Martin's got a fantastic lead. If you look at Martin's top 3 scores, he scored 99 in the Settlers of Catan tournament, and he scored a fantastic 97 points in the Baku World Championship. Martin being the world champion this year, he won the tournament earlier today.
Very good. And Marcus, I saw in the Baku tournament, but Marcus came 3rd in the Baku tournament. Marcus is our leading junior. He's actually 30 points clear of 3rd at the moment, so he's doing incredibly well. Well done, Marcus.
At the moment, James Heppel is lying in 5th place, but I expect James to have a couple of very strong events later in the week. And his Settlers of Catan score will hold him in good stead.
Take some beating, but obviously you want generally scores in the 90s. It shows that you've either won or come second in an event generally. So James would want to be adding scores like Martin's got onto his repertoire.
Martin's already got 3 scores that probably won't be bettered. So his score for the I can't remember what HT stands for. Hare and Tortoise. So Martin played in the Hare and Tortoise on Sunday night. I think he came about 4th or 5th. He scored 60 points. That score of 60.73 will certainly be replaced later in the week.
We look at some other people. David Pearce, it seems to play in every event I commentate on at the moment. So David Pearce is still in Dominion, I believe, somewhere. He's floating about. He wasn't one of the top few we saw when he saw the standings, but we are going to look at the standings in a bit once the event has settled down. They are, you can see them, people milling around in the background looking at the event. They're sorting it out. They're also going to sort out the cards. So we had 10 cards there available. They're going to have another different 10 cards for the next and final
I mean,
set.
it is theoretically possible we could have the same card because they shuffled and randomized, but that is highly unlikely.
I think the way they've done it is the last set they take out and then they use the remaining ones, shuffle them in and play them. So I think we might get... Well,
so you get 10 unique cards, in fact.
Yeah, so that we haven't had before. So the way they did it, the first set they did 10, then they moved them aside, then they did 10 of the remaining, then they moved them aside, and there were 5 cards that they weren't used. So they used those 5 with 5 others. So every card has been seen play today, so if there's a card you don't like, you've definitely played against it. Whether they do that for the final, I imagine the final round might just be every card's back in the mix, but we'll see. Hopefully there won't be so many attack cards in the next round, but obviously every combination cards produces a different game.
One of the things you'll have noticed is how rapid the end of this game can come. If you're one of those players who takes a bit of time to develop your deck, you can be suddenly left out of the game. If we've got a deck with very few attack cards, we may find an even quicker end to the game.
It looked like we didn't really see them too clearly, but it looked like a lot of them were just buying a lot of money. Like Elaine said, that a money strategy seemed quite strong with that many discard cards.
I had a quick word with Emily earlier. I asked her, she scored 13 points in that game. Mike scored 19 and Ankush and Stephen scored 21 points. Ankush won on tiebreak because he had one fewer turn than Stephen. Emily told me that she started to go for just the money strategy that I quite like, but her money wasn't coming up quick enough for her, and she changed her strategy midway through the tournament. And I think that may have been a mistake. I think whether the money strategy was the correct one or not is up for debate. It probably wasn't with so many attack cards in the game, but she probably should have consistently taken that money.
Switching strategies is a very risky thing.
It is very risky.
Very, very rare that it's going to be right to switch because you're doing a lot of one thing, and then if you start to try and do a lot of another, you do a lot of neither.
You've got a discord, and your pack doesn't really work well together.
Yeah. Now that might sound contrary to what we were saying earlier. We were saying earlier that you kind of build up your deck, and then you go for points. That seems like you're trying to do two different things, but that's what you're meant to do. Your deck's meant to be. You build it in such a way it generates loads of money very quickly, and then you try and use that money to get you the points to win the game.
Okay, we're just waiting for Mike to draw the cards. Okay, we're going to show you the results of the third round. We do know that Ankush Khandelwal won, but we're going to update you. And here are the points.
So Matthew Selby has won 3 out of 3 so far, so well done, Matthew.
So that defines the top board there.
Yeah, so we can see the top boards. Matthew, Stephen, Danton Hope and Ankush Khandelwal. Obviously, they will be the top 4. We've just seen Stephen and Ankush, who tied on 21 points. Ankush taking that tie. The champion, the gold medalist, will come from one of those 4 people. And it's Matthew Selby's got to have a very unlucky series of events not to come away with at least a medal here.
If Matthew were to lose this last game, if he were to come in 4th place...
I think he still gets a medal, actually, doesn't he, points-wise?
He would be on 21 points.
And Danton and Ankush both can't overtake him.
That's correct, because he only scored 4 points. Yeah, so Stephen could overtake him, Danton could overtake him, but not both Danton and Ankush. Yeah, so it looks like Matthew's in a good place. The other possibility, however, is that one of William, Ziggy or Emily on board 2 were to gain 7 points.
Yeah, and they could sneak a medal.
They could sneak a medal. So I think Matthew will almost certainly get the bronze medal. Almost certainly guaranteed, rather, to get a bronze medal. But actually, it's not certain. I
did have a list of the tie breaks. I'm just going to get them off. I took a picture on my phone, so one sec. So I can tell you what the tie break will be. I imagine that the fact that Matthew is being paired up as such, and paired up means that you are playing against stronger opponents in the last round. If you were paired down, you'd be playing against weaker opponents. So I believe that if a tie break uses the
one of the tiebreaks will be the board that you played on in the final round. So if Matthew were to tie with William, Ziggy and Emily, then Matthew would win that tiebreak.
In fact, that is the first tiebreak, highest board on the last round. So basically Matthew Selby is guaranteed bronze, no one else is guaranteed anything, but apart from the winner of the last board will get gold.
However, you do have a situation where if Matthew were to win, then one of the players from the second board could get into the medals.
Could get silver. So they could do that.
So, for example, let me paint a possible scenario here. Matthew Selby were to win.
Yep.
Ankush Kandavur were to come second and score 20 points.
Mhm.
And, for example,
Danton comes third and
scores 18. Then the winner from the second board could get the silver medal by scoring 21.
Or even bronze if something else happens. So we're looking forward to this. We're going to definitely see the game that gives us the winner as such. So we will see that, and we're going to be looking forward to looking at a new set of 10 cards to play with.
We should be getting those in a few minutes too.
We should do, yeah. Have you played in the Dominion tournament before?
I haven't played in this tournament. I've played in other games, in other tournaments in Dominion. I think it's a fabulous game. Not my favourite Euro game. One of my favourite Euro games is Settlers of Catan, but it's a really nice family game as well. My daughter, as I say, is a big fan of this game. She's been enjoying the game since she's about 7 years old. So, and on the side of the box it says from 14. So I think they've got that number wrong.
I've played Dominion a bit, and it's actually a game I don't like. I find it a bit too non-interactive. I know you can attack.
That's a very valid criticism.
I know you can attack each other. They feel like the most interactive games, but I actually don't like being attacked in games generally, and so I feel like Dominion is a lot of I'm playing my own deck and see what happens.
Many people call Dominion like a solo deck building game, and the action cards have sort of added, I believe, almost as an afterthought to try to increase the interaction level between the players. A lot of the games do become solo games, but there's that critical element of switching between the deck building phase of the game and the points phase of the game, and that requires you to pay careful attention to what the other players are doing.
If no one's switching to getting points and everyone's just refining their deck, it's like at some point it's going to be correct to switch, and you have to react to other people. If you can see someone switch but you're not switching, they're going to beat you. But if someone switches too early, if you wait till the right time to switch, you can,
And another thing that can happen is if 3 of the players kind of switch or get a good deck of hands to buy the provinces in a round, you can suddenly see 3 provinces nabbed before your turn and put you into a bit of a panic. So you really have to keep a careful eye on the other players.
Yeah.
However, your comment that it's largely a solo game is a fair comment, and for that reason, the makers of Dominion have built the expansion packs, which increase the interaction between the players, and we will have one of those tournaments later this week.
So Dominion Intrigue is widely regarded as the best version of Dominion. It's the highest rated on Board Game Geek, which is a website for rating board games. So go and have a look on there.
Go look at Board Game Geek, it's great.
To see where your favourite board game might rank, or what the best ones are. So Dominion Intrigue would be one. So I don't know which set they're using. That would be one that's highly rated. But then generally there's about 8 sets now, I think. 8 sets of Dominion with...
We've got about 6 in the office, I think.
My co-worker has got a whole crate of them. He's bought every set. He loves it. I don't find there's not much you can do when it's not your turn in Dominion.
Tell me, Steve, what sort of games are popular at your cafe in Nottingham?
Cafe games, Azul is very popular at the moment. It's just such a quick game you can teach to anyone. We do a lot of the Escape the Room games. I don't know if you've seen them, Unlock and Exit.
Yes, I have.
Now, Exit we can't host at the cafe, so you can buy Exit from us and play it yourself. But Unlock, we have the sets in the cafe, so people come in and play Unlocks. We do a lot of role-playing and Magic the Gathering, but in terms of board games, you're looking at, depending what day you come in on, you've got Dead of Winter is very popular with the casual people. It simulates, if you've seen The Walking Dead, it simulates the universe of The Walking Dead, where it isn't about fighting zombies, it's about surviving with backstabbing and betrayal and stuff like that. So there's some very good games there. Mysterium.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you do also traditional games? I come from a traditional board game, backgammon, chess, Chinese chess, etc. Do you play those sort of games?
We have a chess set. We have a mahjong table. It's a fancy one that pops stuff up. We have a Go club. We don't have a chess club, weirdly. I think the chess club probably prefers slightly quieter environment. The Go club's great. If you come to Nottingham and you want to play Go, it's at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday. We have some backgammon sets as well. I'd really like to get backgammon up and running. We've actually got a crokinole board as well. Crokinole. It is curling on a board. You're just flicking discs onto a board. Which seems like a really petty game, but the board itself is lovely. It's lacquered, and the pieces are nice and light, and they speed across the surface. We've got some crokinole tournaments and stuff. Patchwork's another... I'm going back into non-traditional games now. But yeah, we've got Monopoly, and we've got the classics, Cluedo and stuff.
Tell us where your cafe is.
It's in Nottingham. near the Victoria Centre bus station, so it's good for transport. We're a vegan cafe. I believe in terms of size, we're also the biggest board game cafe in the country. We have the biggest floor space. We've got some tables made by Geek & Son, specialist gaming tables, which people seem to like and come and play on. And we're open until 11, so if you're ever in Nottingham, come and say hi. Thank you very much.
Fantastic, thanks Steve. All right, we're just waiting for the cards now, and they've just come through the door.
Okay.
Drum roll, please. And we're going to go to the game room now, and we're going to, while we go into the game room, we're going to quickly tell you what the cards are in play.
So I'm going to read them out, and then we're going to talk about them a bit like we did last time. So we've got the Thief, the Spy, the Feast, the Chapel, one of Elaine's favourites, the Garden. We have the Adventurer, the Laboratory, the Village, the Smithy, and the Council Room, which I believe is the only repeat card we had from the last game.
Okay, so let's quickly talk about the attack cards, because they're the ones that potentially the most interesting, the most disruptive of the cards.
Yeah, so the first attack card was the Thief. It says each of the player reveals the top 2 cards of their deck, and if they reveal the treasure, you can trash one of them you choose. We didn't have any trashing last time. Trash is permanently discard, so you discard it from the game. It never goes back in your deck.
One thing to point out about the Thief is it's extremely powerful in a sense that you actually get to take those trashed gold cards.
So you can trash a copper, but you can trash a gold and then take the gold. So you can choose whether you want to take it or not. I believe that's right, isn't it?
That's correct. So for example, if you in your hand revealed the top 2 cards and they included a copper and a victory point card, you would be forced to trash the copper, and the Thief would be able to put that copper into their discard pile.
If they wanted to. And they might not take a copper, but they'd probably take a gold or a silver.
So one of the problems with the Thief, if you're one of those players who likes to play a money game, one of the problems is you're going to obviously be going for the silvers and the golds. But if a Thief's in play, you suddenly find yourself with a situation where you could be losing those golds to the Thief. So that's a real worry.
That stops a money strategy. It's nice that every card kind of benefits or detracts from certain strategies. The other attack card is the Spy. The Spy allows you to draw another card, have another action, and then each player, including yourself, reveals the top card of the deck and either discards it or puts it back, but it's my choice. So I can look at each person's top card of the deck, effectively, and my own, and I can choose whether to go to the discard pile or stay on the top. So I can make them keep victory point cards.
So Steve, if you were to get one of your opponents to reveal their top card and it was, say, a single gold card, a copper, would you discard that or would you let them keep it?
It depends what stage of the game it is. Generally, I'm going to let them keep it because a single gold copper isn't as valuable as it could be. But it depends what state of the game is. If they've lost a lot of gold through the Thief, you might want to say, oh no, you've not got much gold left. I'm going to get you to get rid of that.
Good point. But however, if someone, for example, has got a victory point card, which is not helpful to their deck,
you always want them to draw victory point cards. You don't
leave it on the top of the deck.
You would leave it on top of the deck, I believe.
So it's a great card, the Spy.
We've got one of my favourite cards that didn't come last time, is the Village. I say my favourite cards. Again, it's not my favourite game, but the Village allows me to do lots and lots of stuff. Combined with 2 of the cards, we're looking at the bottom row, I'm looking at these 3 cards together, allow you to trawl through your deck. We've got the Laboratory, the Village and the Smithy. The Smithy allows you to draw 3 more cards. The Village allows you to draw 1 more card and, importantly, gain 2 more actions. And the Lab is sort of the same. It's the other way around. It allows you to draw 2 more cards and gain 1 action. So you can play the Lab, draw 2 cards. You can draw into a Village. You can play the Village, draw another card. You can draw into a Smithy. You can draw 3 more cards, into another Smithy, into 3 more cards.
So you could get potentially an extra 7 or 8 cards.
Yeah, and these kind of like you churn through your deck. You can basically have certain combinations of draws if you've got enough of these in your deck and your deck's sufficiently the right size, where you can just play Lab, Village, Lab, Smithy, Smithy, Lab, Village, and then you've just got a hand of 12 cards. You haven't got any extra buys, which is sadly there is the Council Room you can get an extra buy from, but obviously you can draw all your gold in 1 turn, and then you can buy the provinces. So this is kind of like I've seen people do this.
Those combine exceptionally well, those cards. The only slight risk with that is, if you were to draw the Smithy in your hand without the Village or the Laboratory in your hand, and in your 3 cards that you get from the Smithy, you were to, for example, draw your Laboratory Village, you suddenly find yourself wasting actions.
Yeah, it's not perfect, I'm afraid. The Smithy might draw you into some money, but generally, I mean, the Smithy could just be a victory point card and you've not wasted anything.
So I would probably err towards getting more of the Laboratories and Villages and fewer of the Smithies.
Yeah, so you'd probably go like something like a 4-4-2 split or something
like that,
yeah. Maybe not that many cards, but you get the idea.
Now, one of the cards that's one of my favourites is the Gardens. Now, I wouldn't go for it too early, Steve, but for every garden you have, for every 10 cards you have in your deck in the end of the game, you get an additional point. So it's like a multiplier.
So if I have 40 cards at the end of the game, every garden's worth 4 points.
So if I had 3 gardens, 4 points, the additional 12 points.
Yeah,
really
that's pretty good.
So, but you need an extra buy, ideally, with the gardens.
So the only card you've got that gives you an extra buy is the card we had last time, is the council room. It draws you 4 more cards. It gives you another buy, but every other player gets to draw another card.
So every other player would increase their deck, their hand rather, from 5 to 6 cards.
So do you think the council room supersedes the smithy in this set?
I would say so. And you notice it's also the designers of the games have given it a higher value.
Yeah.
It costs 5 gold.
So generally most things cost 3, 4 and 5. There's something with 2, it's the cellar. It allows you to trash cards from your hand, not your discard pile, your hand. Apologies, not the cellar, the chapel.
Now, the one use of the chapel is, the obvious use of the chapel is if there's a witch in a game, you can use it to trash your curse cards. But the other use that is often used for the chapel is to trash low value gold and low value point cards,
Yeah, so
which seems counterproductive.
Yeah, you could throw your 3 1-pointers away really early in the game, and then you'll not be drawing them for the rest of the game. Now you'll be 3 points down, but you can use the benefits of having no rubbish cards in your hand to buy much better cards later on.
Yeah. The other thing is, if you've got a hand full of gold, you can use it to trash your low value gold cards and increase the value of your hand. However, I don't think you'd do that with the thief in the game, because then you would lose your...
Okay, so
have we seen what people have been picking up?
Not necessarily, but we'll see when they start playing them. We'll see people start to churn actions together. It looks like they've had 2 goes.
Okay, so...
apologies, they've had 4 goes each.
So Matthew's just bought a silver. Getting money is always a great thing to do. We might see people start to change their strategies slightly if one or more of the players starts to go heavily for the thief rather.
So Matthew is the person to the top left when we look at the table from the top. He's the nearest to our left here. Matthew is undefeated. He's won every game he's played today.
He's certainly in pole position to win this tournament.
Yeah, I mean he can come second here. He'd have to win this to win the whole thing, wouldn't he?
If he were to, yes, whoever wins this game, whoever wins will win the gold. But
he's certain for bronze and likely for silver.
He's certain for bronze, likely for silver. Correct. Yes. Right, we just had a gold being purchased by
so that's
in the bottom left.
So this is Matthew's got the laboratory. He's just revealed 6 gold to buy a gold.
Golds are incredibly useful in this game. There were three money. The golds are worth 3 purchasing power, and if you string together enough of those, you can start to get the really valuable cards like the provinces, etc. Now, one card it's worth pointing out that I've always struggled to find the value in is the Adventurer.
You mentioned this earlier. So the Adventurer says reveal 2 cards from your deck until you reveal 2 treasure cards, and put those treasure cards into your hand and discard the other revealed cards.
Now, this card would typically only be useful, in my experience, when you go for what's called a money strategy. So you'd be getting rid of your victory point cards.
But you'd also be getting rid of your ones, I imagine, as well, and you'd try and buy better gold pieces, so that when you play this, it gets you 6 gold.
Yeah, I've always found, however, Steve, that this card seems to be overvalued by the designers. It's an awful lot of money.
It takes a lot to work, because you'd also need something like the chapel to bin your hand as well.
Yeah.
And then once you've used the chapel, there's not much use for it anymore, is there?
So I would be surprised if we see the Adventurer purchased at all. And also with 6 money, you typically would be better off buying a gold.
With 6 money, you're not far off 8, are you? It's very unlikely you're going to have 6 or 7 money and not want to buy a gold. Like I said, I'd probably go down the lab, village and council room route.
That's a great strategy. How would you counter the thief in this game?
I guess you just have to buy a bit more gold than you normally would and be prepared to lose some.
How about countering the thief by playing the council room, and with your additional buy, when you don't have enough money to buy anything interesting, buying coppers?
So you think the thief are going to hit more coppers off you?
Yeah, I think the thief's gonna trash the coppers. I think that if somebody starts to buy a lot of thieves, gold might become a bit of a challenge for the players, and they may just need to stock up on coppers.
The thief works with each of the player, doesn't it?
It works in all three.
Wow,
All three of the
pretty powerful, isn't it?
It is.
So you said I chapel these 4 cards.
All right, we've got a little bit of a dispute here. Let's turn to the players.
Like that, in which case you can change.
Okay. So
The reason being because there's been you've not gained any new information about the bits, and you haven't passed off.
Yeah, that seems fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a rules question, we couldn't quite get it, but basically he'd done something that he wasn't meant to do and they were seeing whether he could take it back or not. He didn't gain any extra information, so it was fine. That's a handful of money for
Matthew Selby.
Matthew Selby, yeah.
Doing gold. Sorry, 6 is gold.
Not sure of the player in the top right.
Yeah, the names have gone off from this particular view if we had them from the top down.
So we have Ankush Khandelwal in the bottom left, Matthew Selby in the bottom left.
We have Stephen Cairns.
Stephen Cairns in the top left, and I'm not sure of the player in the top right. It's Danton Hope.
Yeah.
Danton was on 16.
He was on 16, same with
points.
Ankush.
But any of these players can win this, win the gold medal.
Yeah.
Just literally just a win.
Ankush was telling me that he's won 2 out of 3 games so far, and he's won 2 of the games on a tie break. So he's been very lucky. He said he was moaning. He says going fourth is bad, apart from the situation where you win a tie break. So
that's the kind of advantage to being fourth in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone would rather go first and try and get more points than other people. I would rather go first in a game like this. I think first has such a big advantage that you've done well to tie with first, haven't you? I mean, imagine if you're the first to buy a thief.
I think the first person to buy a thief is going to have be a bit of a catalyst to the other players to change their strategy. Perhaps.
Yeah. Again, so there is some.
Well, we've just had a province being bought by Danton. Province is worth 6 points, costs 8 money. Kind of the key to the game, really.
So I think Ankush has just trashed some. I believe he's trashed a copper from his hand.
Okay, so he actually bought a chapel. That is a pretty cool strategy from Ankush. It might fall apart.
Where's his deck?
His deck's in his...
Do you think he's discarded his whole deck? And he's just playing with some really powerful cards in a chapel?
I think he's done something pretty cool, because the chapel allows you to trash up to 4 cards.
Yeah, so maybe, I mean, there's about 8 provinces left, so we've missed a few province buys. I mean, Matthew's just bought one, but Ankush could spend his turn. If his hand of cards, I mean, looking at his hand of cards now, he's got a province and some money.
I noticed Stevens also trashed some cards in the bottom left of the of the screen. So if a couple of people have gone for that strategy.
Yeah, if you trash a lot of your hands so that you've got a really small deck, obviously the gardens are worthless. You don't want to buy the garden in this case. But if you've got a really small deck, if your deck is like 6 cards big and you draw it, your deck is discarding more, is he?
So, in fact, I think they've all gone for this trade. This is astonishing.
So Ankush's hand is about 7 cards. He's got 2 provinces, 1 cellar, and then some high-powered money. So he's just hoping to every turn draw. You know, if he's got 4 golds, he just needs to draw 3 golds in his hand to buy a province.
But then the correct strategy against that, Steve, surely should be to get the thief.
But if everyone's doing that strategy.
Yes. So what Ankush is betting on now is that he can rush the province pile before someone can get the thief into play.
I mean, if it works, it's brilliant.
It is.
I think if you look at Matthew, he's going down the route of the laboratory. I've seen a laboratory and a village
and
the
he plays and a smithy.
And a smithy, yeah. So he's buying a province as well. Yeah. This game is going to be over
very quick. So actually, my strategy, one of my strategies early in the game was to go for the gardens and the council room and try to buy lots of cards. No one's going to go for that now.
That strategy is not fast enough, is it?
It's not fast enough in this particular game. Not with these players as well. It might depend on the players as well.
Yeah.
That's why there's a level of interaction between the players.
If you know people like to durdle about and be a bit slow, then you can try one of these slower strategies that are very powerful if it gets going. But Ankush is going to end the game. Now Ankush is going to rush the game, and some other people have as well. I'm not sure how big other people. So Ankush has got 7 cards. If you look, he's got 2 cards face down, and then a hand of 5. So I reckon he's got 4 golds, the cellar, and then the rest of the provinces.
This is incredibly exciting. We're going to be finished.
I think he's unlucky. I actually think looking at his hand, he's actually not got. I think looking, he's got 2 provinces and cellar in his hand.
But that means that the following hand will probably be enough.
Yeah, but
unless he draws more provinces again.
Yeah, he could do. He could just keep drawing it, so he could just be unlucky. He's just trying to hit 3 of his 4 gold cards every turn. Trying to finish with
a deck full of 6s.
Deck full of 6s. The problem is with the cellar. The cellar will be even more powerful if you could discard itself to its own ability, which you can't. When you play it, it's not in your hand anymore, and you can't trash 4 cards from your hand.
There's one card called the remodel card where you are allowed to trash itself, but that's not in play this game.
Yeah. But that's worth more. The seller's only worth 2 coins. So obviously the seller, you modify your hand with the seller. Yeah. So Ankush is actually he had his two.
He went for the laboratory. That's an unusual card.
No, he draws more cards.
Okay, yes.
And he's trying to buy. He's trying to draw through his hand. I mean, I don't know why he didn't go for the smithy.
But it does give him the extra card to, for example, to play. No, well, he wouldn't be playing the chapel now. Yes, why didn't he go for the smithy, Steve?
I don't know. Maybe we've got his action card wrong. I think it must be the chapel if he's discarded his hand down.
Okay, we've gone for another one.
So Ankush has got 8 cards. This would be interesting to see if he can make this work, you know. And Ankush is a 4-time Pentamind medalist. He's won once. He tied with Andrus 1 year. And he came second for the last 3 years. He's been pipped by James Heppel, Andres Kusk, and James Heppel the last 3 years. It seems those 3 seem to be dominating it. In fact, the last 2 years, those 3 have been medalists in one combination or other.
Right, we just had another province being bought by Danton in the bottom left of our bottom right of our screen.
So Ankush has played his lab. So if he draws his lab or enough coins, he's surely going to buy a province here. He's got another action card if he wants it.
He's bought a duchy worth 3 points.
He didn't have the money for it. That last card must be a 3 gold.
Okay.
So I think he's going to struggle. I think the fact that he hasn't bought provinces in the last 2 turns means the game's going to end a bit too quick for him. But he's got 2 provinces and a duchy, so he's on 15 points so far.
If you look at Matthew Selby, who's having his turn now, he's strung together 4 actions in a row.
That's the sort of strategy I'd want to have done with this board.
Yeah. So I think Matthew might be our dark horse here.
Well, he's not a dark horse. He's leading the event.
Are you using the term because we've talked about Ankush so much?
Yeah, we have. Yeah, well, he's a friend of mine. Danton's bought a few provinces. We haven't seen Danton today. We've seen Stephen already. Stephen tied his last game, joint first.
Except he lost on tiebreak to Ankush.
He did,
so
yeah.
Might be smarty from that still. All right, there's only 2 provinces left, so they're probably going to go in the next round or 2. So keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah,
okay.
So he couldn't afford one, I'm afraid. Can Danton afford one?
So if you've not got enough money for a province, you need to get a duchy. A garden.
Gardens.
Gardens is a reasonable strategy at this point because you should have about 20 cards or so we're worth.
Yeah, so they're worth 2 each.
They're worth 2 each.
Maybe you couldn't afford the duchy. Duchy's 5, isn't it? And
Duchy's 3.
Yeah.
Duchy's 3. Costs 5.
Costs 5, yeah. So maybe you only have 4 money.
It's possible. In which case the gardens is perfectly fine.
So I think Matthew's going to win this. He's just bought another province. He's going to. I think Matthew's going to win.
No, there's 2 left. I would say Matthew's going to win this. Has Ankush bought enough provinces to?
No, he's only bought 2. His last few buys have been duchies.
Okay, what have we got? 5 money.
So there's a card we didn't talk about, but Matthew's played the Feast, which is to trash a card and buy a different card worth a bit more.
So he's trashed a card.
He trashed a card to buy a duchy.
Which is perfectly fine. So actually, if you've only got 4 cards in your hand, you can buy the Feast card, and the following hand you can turn. The game
has ended. Ankush and Danton bought the last 2.
All right, I think this is going to be between Matthew and Ankush.
I think Matthew's got this, but we'll see.
Did Danton buy the second to last one then?
No, he didn't.
So who bought the second to last one?
I think there must have been 3 left. Danton might have bought it. Yeah, there were 3 left because, apologies. Matthew, oh, hang on. Oh, it's a tie.
It's a tie.
It's a tie.
The Gardens may be useful. No, I think it's going to be a tie.
No, Danton's won. Look at him, he's got 27, I think.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Doesn't
7,
matter.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
didn't even
13,
need
14,
the
15, 16, 17.
Didn't even need the garden.
Yeah.
He's got 25 without the garden.
And an additional point from the garden, 26. So Danton is one with 26.
Matthew and Ankush tie with 24.
Now, because Matthew had 1 less turn than Ankush, I think
Who went first? Do we know?
I think Stephen went first.
Okay, which means Matthew.
I may be wrong there, but I believe Stephen went first.
Well, it only matters unless Matthew went first. If Matthew went first, then they finished on the same turn. But otherwise, Ankush would have had 1 more turn.
Oh, yeah.
So it looks like it's going to be, depending on who went first, Danton with the win, Matthew in second, 24, tied with Ankush on 24, and Stephen in third.
So Danton started this round with, we believe, 18 points.
Danton had 16, Stephen had.
So that would mean that Danton would end up with 23 points.
Yeah, Matthew with second will have 25. But he will be silver. Ankush will get 2 points, so he'll be on 18, which means someone from table 2 is probably going to overtake him.
Yes.
And Stephen got 0, which means he stays on 18 as
So
well.
this result is good news for the players on board 2.
Definitely, yeah.
One of them can now pick up the medal.
Yeah, one of them can get a medal now. It looks like Danton can't be caught from board 2, and Matthew can't be caught from board 2, and Danton has won the event, even though the points are slightly different. If we can just have a quick look for the table next to this one, see if they're still playing. Otherwise, we will have a slow wrap up, talk about what's going on, and hopefully wait for the standings before we leave you, just so we can give you the final standings. So that's the table 2, I believe. They're still going. These guys were all on 14 from memory. I think there were 4 people on 14 points, weren't there?
I think it was 3 on 14 and 1 on 13, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so we imagine that Ziggy Harris is a previous winner of the event. Emily we saw her last game. She came 3rd last year, 2 years ago, sorry. Andrea Smith, who's doing well because she's on 14 points, and William Fawkes, who's not had a medal in this event before, but if he wins this game, he can get one too.
Now you notice in this game, unless the pace of play has been considerably different, there's a lot of province cards still left.
There's also 2 piles dead in the middle.
Now that is unusual.
So we think they've probably gone down this route, the route of just buying lots of cards and chaining them together. Do you think the laboratory village, because I reckon probably all the laboratories and villages have gone.
Are we able to identify from the image which pile? It's actually, I think, in one pile only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So
there's 9.
we'll have to, if we could zoom in, we might be able to identify.
I'm pretty
which
sure it's
pile.
the village. I'm pretty sure it's the village.
Not the adventurer. No one will go for that.
It's the village. Looking at the pictures.
Now the village is a great card.
Actually, no, that's the village there, isn't it?
So which card is the one that's gone?
Could be
not the chapel.
It's the smithy, is it?
Not the thief.
No, the smithy's that one.
Not the smithy. Not the village.
It's a laboratory then.
It's a laboratory.
Yeah.
Okay, let's discuss the laboratory a bit while we wait for the players to finish. The laboratory gives you 2 extra cards and an additional action. Really, really nice card. Those 2 extra cards could be treasure cards, could be additional action cards.
If you're not trying to rush the game, drawing cards is by far one of the strongest things you can do, I think. Just drawing more of your deck, more of the deck that you're building to do good things.
So I would expect, because this is a much slower game and people aren't rushing the province pile, I would expect some players to start picking up gardens and possibly the council room.
So my thought for the last game we just watched was that it wasn't a fast game, apart from it just takes one person to be fast. Once people saw that Ankush had 5 cards in hand or 6 cards in hand, he was just trying to buy province after province, they have to speed up. Yeah.
They had to adapt. We look like we've got a very different character of a game now. So this is very interesting to see. We've got exactly the same cards on the board. Both table 1, table 2 and all the rest of the tables have played with the same 10 cards.
There's some thieves out. Someone's just had their 3 gold nicked.
Okay, so
Ziggy's just stolen 6 gold.
Oh, so Ziggy. So what's
So I think maybe on the previous game, if someone had bought a thief,
that might have changed the dynamic.
It would have changed the dynamic.
So what happened in the first game is we had a lot of chapels bought, no thieves. People trashed all their low value treasure and victory point cards and tried to rush the province power. We've got a very different character game to this. You could almost say that this is like playing the difference between playing chess and backgammon almost. I don't know if that analogy works, Steve, but
no, it's fine. It is different. It's completely different. They are completely different games.
And you'll finish below. Oh no, you'll finish. No, wait.
Okay, behind is silver. Okay, we just had a laboratory. But if you notice, Andrea's just picked up 2 cards from her pile. She's now playing a thief. So let's see what happens. The thief means you've got to pick up the top reveal
the top 2. You
from your deck.
Trash up to 1 treasure. And any treasure, you trash one of them. So basically,
if you draw, for example, a gold and a copper.
Yeah, I believe Andrea could choose in this case.
So Andrea would get you to trash your gold.
And then if she chose to, in this case, she's taken the silver off William.
Right.
So I think William's just lost the gold and the silver now.
So William's going to be a little bit miffed.
Yeah.
So one of the strategies against countering the thief is to get your own thief. But it might be sensible to try to get something like the council room and just try and get lots of other cards that are not treasure cards in your hand.
Draw through it. If you get the council room and can buy 2 coins back for the 1 coin you've lost.
Could work.
So William has played a thief, hopefully. I mean, if everyone's got thieves, this is why this game's going slow.
Yes.
Everyone's kind of like nicking money off everyone every turn.
Now I wonder whether the thief is not picking up the ones from other people. That would be rather interesting.
I'm just trashing the ones. There's a big trash pile at the bottom here.
I can see the trash pile, yeah. No, and notice the curse cards are visible at the bottom of the board. Those are not in play this game because there's no witch. They just haven't cleaned it up from the previous game.
The curse cards aren't cards you can buy. You just get them if you play a witch.
You wouldn't want to buy it, Steve.
You would not, no.
Minus 1 point is not good.
No. I agree. So we're just watching the end of this match. I believe this might be, looking at the room behind, it seems like this might be the last match in play.
I think because everyone's gone for so many thief cards, it's going to possibly be quite slow.
I mean...
Yep, looks definitely like the game is...
yeah, there's a game going on at the back there.
In the far top we can see a game with David Pearce. And
the game we take at table 1 is being packed away. But yeah, thank you, cameraman. Oh, there's a game going on. So I guess the game we were watching initially was just a super fast game.
It's super fast, yes. I mean, with the chapel being so aggressively applied, everyone adapted immediately. I noticed everyone quickly adapted to that, and they rushed the province part. So we've seen the consequence of that is that it looks like that game is finished well before all the other games. In fact, we may still be here for quite a while. The other possibility of ending this game is not so much if the province pile goes, but if another 2 piles go. However, I didn't see anyone buying any action cards in the few rounds we've seen.
It still looks like there's a few provinces left.
Okay, whose turn is it? I think it's Emily's turn.
Yeah, it looks like it. She's buying a gold.
Now notice Emily didn't show her cards to her opponent, so there's a lot of trust involved in this game, and it works on trust. But the players...
It felt like the way she slammed the cards down that she had 7 money there.
Yeah. That's a good spot, Steve, yes.
It's like, oh no, really, was so exasperated.
Could you perhaps explain to the viewers what she would have bought if she had 8?
So 8 is the key number. 8 is the one that gets you the province, and that's worth 6 points. There is generally nothing in the base game worth 7, and given you only have 1 buy, having 7 money is like the worst. If you have 6, you can buy an adventure. If you can 5, you can buy the laboratory and other things like that. If you have 7, you've kind of wasted that extra money. You have to drop down, buy something, and you've just missed out on getting the province. More importantly than that, generally, if you're not about to shuffle your deck back in, you know that the next hand of cards you've got is not going to have anywhere near the amount of money that you've just had in your hand, and you know you're going to be a few turns away from the province.
Steve, we just had William play the thief. Emily showed a copper card, and William did not take the copper card from Emily. So it looks like the thieves have been dumping the coppers, which is very interesting.
Which is weird. If everyone's doing that, if everyone's got a thief, they're trading 2s and 3s off each other.
What I would do, I would seriously consider going for the council room here, using that extra buy to get lots of coppers into your hand, because then at least you're not helping your opponents when they trash the coppers. How were you able to trash a smith?
You've got the feast.
Ah, yes, of course. So he's trashed a feast to get something like the laboratory.
Or you can get a duchy with it. So the feast is a card we didn't really see in the first game we played. We saw it happen once maybe. But you can trash the feast to get a card costing up to 5. So the feast, if you have full money and nothing else to do, you can buy it, knowing next time you can trash it and buy something worth 5. So I don't think the feast is that good a card, but maybe you buy that over something else. Maybe you wanted to buy a council room, you didn't have 5 on you, but next time you draw the feast, you can throw it away to get the council room.
Yes.
Sometimes you'll be in a game where there's some really good cards worth 5, and so buying feasts when you've only got 4 is a really good idea, because it's an action later on that gets you a much better card.
Especially in a game like this where you've got a thief constantly knocking your gold back, getting something like a thief is slightly raised in value.
Yeah, because you can discard the feast to get silver. You're running out of money, okay fine, I'm going to trade the feast in for a silver instead.
Well actually the silver costs only 3, so I don't think you'd do that, but you might trade it in for a duchy, for example, for a council room or whatever. One of the action cards we saw in the previous round was the bureaucrat. That's another really good card. That one also costs 4.
Was that an attack card?
That was an attack card. The players had to show the top 2 cards in their deck.
Yeah.
Sorry, they had to show their hand, and if they have victory point cards, the victory point cards go on top of their deck.
On the top, yeah.
Which makes their following hand a little bit less valuable. Okay, Andrew's stringing together a pile of actions here. She's played 2 laboratories, which has given her 4 extra cards.
She's played a village and a thief as well.
All right, so she's picked up a 3 from Ziggy, and which she can't use immediately.
Yeah, that's another exacerbated spread of the hand. She didn't have enough for her province.
Okay, she's bought a duchy, which is, since we're not critically near the end of the game, it's a slightly unusual turn, but the duchies are worth 3 points. And
Worth 3 points. If she's got a big deck, it doesn't come around that often. And she can draw a lot of cards, so I imagine she can cycle through it quite quickly.
All right, Williams had a fantastic run. He drew just enough money to buy himself a province. So when you've got eight or more money, you get yourself a province. All right, we've had a spy played. So let's quickly recap what the spy does. Every player, including yourself, reveals the top card of your deck. And if it's something that the person who played the spy wants you to keep, they will make you not keep it. They'll make you put it on your discard pile. If it's a card that they want you to keep, that you would probably want to get rid of, like a victory point card, they would make it keep you on the deck. And the great thing about it is they can...
Look how much money Ziggy just had there. Tons of it.
And he lost a 3 to Andrea, so Ziggy must have...
I think he's stolen a few 3s we've seen with his own thieves.
Let's see, so we just had a laboratory played by Emily, which gives her 2 extra cards, and if she's drawn an action card on those 2, she can play it again. She did play... Right, she's stringing together the actions.
That's a village, I think, yeah.
So she's now picked up 5 extra cards.
The Bolotchian village, she's basically got two actions to go, and she's drawn 5 cards.
She's just now played a smithy, which gives her 3 extra cards. If in this turn she runs out of cards, she then gets to shuffle her discard pile into the deck.
It looks like she's close to doing that. In fact, yeah, she's in fact. This is what the very first game of Dominion I played. This is what I got. There was a combination of cards which allowed people to draw the whole deck nearly every time if they drew the right 2 action cards in their opening hand. They could draw through the deck, and in theory she should have enough money in this deck so that she can buy a province. If she's also got a council room, she gets an extra buy as well.
Now she didn't buy a province, which suggests to me that she has suffered from the thief. The thief has been...
Yeah, true. So she actually might not have enough money for a province.
I would have thought she would have bought a province if she had.
Yeah. Unless she... I mean...
I'm really surprised either people aren't going for the council room. I think you need to get coppers into your hand so you can give those up to the thief. If you're starting
how
to
many provinces are left though? There's like 5 left, 6 left. And the duchies as well.
But as soon as people start playing the thief, the correct counter strategy, in my view, for this particular 10 cards is something like the council room, but I don't think people have gone for it. It's possibly too late now to play the council room because they need to go into the points phase of the game. But
Emily didn't buy a province, so that might actually hurt her. I mean, if she could afford it, she should do that. If she can draw a whole hand every turn and she can afford a province, she should do that. So the only logical solution I can think of is she didn't have enough money.
Therefore she needs a 3 to be able to buy the province. All right,
Andrew's bought money as well. So I think, I mean, if they're given they're buying money, I imagine one of the other 2 lads has got all the money from them. I think Ziggy's probably in a good spot. It looks like he's got a lot of money and he's been buying provinces.
Oh, we just had 2 laboratories played by William. Let's give them 4 extra cards.
And there's a thief.
Oh dear.
So
and Emily's just lost that 3 she just got. Oh, ouch.
That's a 2, I think.
Is it a 2?
It was a 2, yeah.
But she clearly doesn't have very much money, and losing a 2 is painful. I think you possibly had to go for the council room.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it looks like Emily. I mean, it looks like some of these people have been ravaged by the thief. I've not seen Emily or Andrea play a thief yet. No, Andrea has played a thief, hasn't she?
Notice in the last game, and Emily didn't go for the aggressive action card, the witch, and she suffered. And she hasn't gone for the aggressive thief this game. So Emily, I know Emily. She's a wonderful player. She's very helpful. She's very kind. But perhaps that's a bit counterproductive in a cutthroat game like Dominion.
She's drawn a whole hand apart from 1 card, and I wonder if that 1 card is the money she needed for the province.
She's not looking. If she had the money, she'd just instantly pick it up.
Pretty sure this is the last game available.
Yeah. It looks like all the other games are finished.
Yeah. So once this game's finished, we'll have a definitive standings. We will just get that confirmed for you, just to double check that no one from table 3 or anything's snuck up there. We can have an idea of the change on the Pentamine World Championship. No one in the top few in the Pentamine I've seen on these top 2 tables, so the result of this isn't going to affect it too much.
Martin Habermarty's not playing tonight in the Dominion. Neither is James Heppel. Neither is the Estonian junior.
Andres Huska's not playing in Dominion.
Andres Huska's not playing either.
Marcus is the Estonian junior.
Yeah, he's not playing either.
No. I don't think it's a game to play. I think the Estonians seem to come from a very abstract school of board games.
I don't know if you know this, but the Estonians are among the world's best at games like Go Moku. Do you know the game Go Moku?
Go Moku was named in the same conversation as Boku, but I've not played Go Moku.
Go Moku is a game where you're trying to get 5 in a line on a board. Really nice tactical traditional game. Very ancient actually. I think it's about over 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
The modern version of the game is a game called Pente. That's more recent, and that's a more professional version of Go Moku. All right, we just had
Andrew's a province. Andrew said a province. I think they're going to rush to the end of the game now. I think it's going to be province if you can for the rest of the game.
I think Emily has suffered here from this ball.
I think so, yeah. I think the thieves have just wrecked her hand. There's a lot of money. There's a province. It looks like there's at least 2 left.
Right, William's going to count.
3.
So as a courtesy to the players...
Oh, no, 4. There's 4 left.
So if you do count the in any deck, because you may, for example, want to count one of the other decks to see if they're about to get depleted, you should always tell your opponents what the number is. So the players would all now be aware that there are only 4 provinces left in the deck. I'm not sure what Emily can do now to come back. There's too little time.
Thief.
Oh
so
dear.
Ziggy, this is an interesting one. I was wondering what he was doing. Ziggy played the spy, made 2 people discard a victory point off the top of the deck, and then thief. So they're more likely to hit money. That was. I thought, what's he doing?
That's a
Nice
clever order to play them in.
So you didn't see that. It's basically the spy allows them to look at everyone's top card, including yourself, and you can either make them discard it or not. And a thief allows you to look at the top 2 and steal money off them. So what Ziggy did, he played the spy. They revealed some victory point cards. He made them discard them, which is usually something they would want to do, so they don't have to draw it. So that Ziggy is more likely to hit money with a thief. Good man.
Good move, Ziggy.
I'll tell you what, I want Ziggy to win. I like that. That's very good. I imagine it's quite standard, I guess, but I was just wondering what he was doing when he was making them discard the victory point cards face up.
All right, so Ziggy, Williams has played a thief. William has ravaged Emily's hand. Let's hope that Emily doesn't lose any more gold. But Ziggy had to discard a copper. William didn't take the copper. He stuck it in the discard.
I don't think he would take the copper, but he's going to steal that. That is a 3.
Oh, Emily's been a bit unlucky.
It happens. I think you've just got to react to people playing thieves. I think they've all got a thief apart from Emily that I've seen. Yeah. And I imagine that William and Ziggy might have more than one.
Did you notice William actually didn't have enough money for much, and he actually bought an estate with only 1 victory point card.
One. Okay. Well, one might do it. So here we go, Ziggy. So Ziggy is laboratory.
So if he's drawn another action card, he can play it now, which he can.
Yeah, which is a spy.
And the spy also gives him an additional action.
Yeah. So everyone. So he's now deciding. So we'll see what he does. Andrew's got money, and the other 2 we can't quite see.
So he'll make Andrew discard the money, unfortunately.
Which means he hasn't got a thief this time. Oh, he can't play the thief anyway.
He may play the thief after this is complete.
He gets another action with the spy, doesn't he?
So if he has picked up the thief, he's now going to play it.
But he wouldn't do it because he's made Andrew discard the money.
Perfect point. So that's actually Steve using some logic to work out what Ziggy's got in his hand.
It's just money.
What does he have?
He's going to buy a card. I believe that's a village.
Village.
Which maybe he only had 3. He didn't want to buy an estate.
Strange choice.
Well, you might not have had enough money for anything else.
I guess at this point, if you got 4, you may be tempted to go for the garden.
I think you would. I think you're right there. I think there's 3 or 4 provinces left. This is a much slower game. You can see the rest of the room's finished. I mean, we finished the other game nearly half an hour ago, I think. And that other game, they must be waiting. They must be waiting to see how far down some of them have fallen. Ankush and Matthew.
Can we go to the game room and listen to the players? I think Emily's...
She's counting how many cards she's got, so she's going to see if she's going to buy gardens.
Okay. Okay, unfortunately the microphone's actually on board 1, and because of the players who finished the game on board 1, they're overpowering the microphone. But I think we can read from Emily's body language what's going through her mind.
She was counting her cards, so she was seeing if she had 20 cards and whether it was worth buying her gardens or not. She decided, I think she got up to 17 cards.
So she has very little money in her hand.
Yeah.
What does she do? What about a council room, Emily?
I think she's just, She
Go
might-
for a council room and then just...
She's got a lot of points in her hand, from what we can see. But I guess they're just not high scoring. She's got no money. She just can't afford any of the big points thing. If she buys, yeah, she has to buy money. If she buys like an estate or something, they're just going to thief out all the money out of the game. She won't have any money left. She can always buy a copper on a turn, but you don't want to just buy one copper, do you?
One of the things that's quite... We haven't actually picked up on this, Steve, is that none of the cards give you additional purchasing power.
Apart from the council room, which is the card you've been raving on as a response
No,
to
that
the
gives you
thief.
an extra buy. I mean, gold, extra gold. Like, for example, in the previous round we had the
Oh, I
market.
see what you mean, yeah, buying power, so like plus 2 coins or
Yeah.
something.
So the market in the previous round got you an extra card, extra action, extra buy, and an extra coin, which you could use to accumulate power to buy something really valuable like a province or a gold. But none of the cards allow you to do that in this game.
We've had 2 piles depleted now.
Which is the second pile?
The duchy's depleted.
Right, okay, so what happens now is the next pile that's depleted ends the game.
Of any sort.
Of any sort.
It's usually the provinces that end the game when I play.
So what is going to happen? So if anybody who thinks they might be in the lead, and I think we've going to have to say that's William down in the bottom left. I think any player who thinks they're in the lead is going to try and end the game as quick as possible.
I think so, yeah.
Pretty much what I thought I was going to get as well.
I think Ziggy, I imagine Ziggy's close to winning. Ziggy will win.
Only 6 coins.
Ziggy will win.
So many to get
But we didn't see the early game. We don't know what. You know, Emily might have bought like several provinces before her hand got ravaged. We don't know. She's drawn a whole hand a few times, hasn't she?
So Emily's counting her hand again. She might be thinking about going for the gardens.
As long as it doesn't get thieved.
Nope.
If it got thieved,
Okay, we're going to go to the audio from table 2 and hear the discussions between the players.
As long as you're like your silver or gold.
If I had multiple buys, I'd probably
Yeah, I also feel that. I've been expecting.
Please don't kill my
Would you care for this? Sober closure.
That was it, no plate?
No, hang on.
I was going to say.
But I've only got 3 spare.
Why do I keep announcing this?
I like announcing it.
Laboratory. Yes. Thief. I really wanted to hit one of your 2 coins.
The thief played. Was it William who played it?
William's got a thief on the top of his deck.
Emily, fortunately for her, she didn't lose another one of her precious golds.
All of the money for province.
He's buying a province as well. Can we see how many provinces are left?
If you scroll the camera down, we'll see. I think we're going to have to see there's only 2
About 2 left, I think. Yeah. 2 left, yeah. So that will end the game. But that's probably going to be the next pile depleted. No one's going to buy anything else unless they.
They may buy
gardens, maybe.
Maybe gardens or estates, maybe.
Remember, the winner of this is likely to reach a bronze medal position.
Correct.
So the winner of this is going to be on 21 or 20, assuming we got the right result for the first table, and they will overtake Ankush and Matthew Cairns in second. Apologies, Stephen Cairns.
All right. Andrew's about to lose. Oh. Now, notice Ziggy has made Emily discard her victory point card, so I think he's about to play. I think he's about to play a thief.
Yeah, because he's made Andrea leave her money on top.
Yes, so he's about to play a
He's
thief.
playing another spy.
So he's going to make Emily discard. There we go, thief. Yeah.
So he's going to steal Andrea's 2 coins.
Yeah. It's unfortunate for her.
He's done well there. He's done very well, I think.
Yeah.
Buys the gardens.
Gardens, estates now, if you can't buy the province.
Yeah, I mean, you buy gardens, he's probably worth 2 points to him. I don't know how many cards he's got in his hand. He's got to have close to 20, I think.
All right, Emily's going to string together all these great actions because she's got lots of laboratories.
And
they are very
villages.
expensive laboratories. They're very powerful cards. They're very
Yeah,
expensive.
and villages as well. So, and that is Smithy. So she's drawing 3 more cards. She's drawn a whole hand. She's going to buy some.
She got enough for the province?
No, because I picked it up on the second.
Okay, she's just telling the players that on the right hand side, on the top of her kit, where she's just hit with her hand, those are her discard piles. She's now going to shuffle them into her hand to draw, according to the Smithy card, which is 3 extra cards.
Yeah, so she's going to draw close to the whole hand.
And she has enough for province. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Andrew's already had a go as well.
What did Andrew do?
I don't know. I think she bought gardens. And then on William now.
Okay, it looks like Andrew's got a fistful of cash there, so she may be able to buy the if it comes round to her. She may be able to buy the province. Now, William would have bought the province if he had enough money, so he's now thinking what to do.
Yeah, he's got a hand of action cards and 2 point
Alright.
cards. He's got no money.
Okay, so he's
He's got no money. I don't know where his money's gone. Maybe he's lost all his money. If you look at his hand, can you see that?
I can see.
No, he's got a discard pile to the left, hasn't he? His money's probably
He probably wants to use up to get his discard pile to play again.
Mhm.
All right, he's not going to be able to buy anything useful. He might go for a Gardens if he just has enough. All right, Smithy, 3 extra cards.
One.
So he'll now
Yeah.
shuffle in a
he's got
discard pile and
hope
get 2 more.
He's got to hope to get some money here.
I thought you were rooting for Ziggy, Steve.
Sorry? Well, I've got to be unbiased. I just like the play he made. So he's yeah. He buys a mistake because he thinks the game's going to end. He was just trying to draw some money. Hasn't done it. So it's whoever gets this last province, I imagine.
He drew 3 money and he was still only able to buy an estate, so which means he must not have had 4 money.
He didn't have any other money in hand.
So where's the money gone? Is that?
I think it's in his discard pile. I think he's not got much. I think he's probably had some stolen as well.
And the game
game's
ends.
end. Okay, so they're going to count some points.
Right, so Ziggy's going to win this, we think.
We think so, yeah. I think he's the only one who hasn't struggled with turns and loss of money. It looks like everyone else has lost a lot of money, and I can't think anyone else who's got it apart from Ziggy.
Okay, so as soon as we know the results, we'll let you know. They're busy counting up.
Yeah.
So only those green cards, if you can see the green cards being played, only those are worth any points at this point of the game. Yeah, unless you've got a Gardens, of course. If you've got a Gardens, you count
green,
up.
That's green as well, I believe.
That's green, but you count up then all your cards together.
Yeah.
Including the Gardens as well.
Yeah.
So
It counts itself, yeah. But the Gardens is only really good if you can buy extra buys. You need to be buying more than 1 card a turn generally.
I think with these small decks, it's probably only worth 2 points at most.
Yeah. But once the Duchies have gone, I guess the Gardens.
Let's switch to the players' audio and hear the results. Hopefully, hear the results.
18. Did you have at least 2 point cards?
Oh yeah, I put all my point cards.
Did you have? Do you think you had some 12 or so 2? So we say it's 2 points.
So 18 for Andrea.
I don't have any cards, so I'm going to start putting stuff back.
Okay, you heard Emily say she doesn't have any Gardens, so there's no point in counting all her cards.
So looking at Emily, she's got 18, 19, 20, 21. So you've got 20, Emily's got 27.
I think it was 28.
So it looks like William.
15, 18, 35 for William. And Ziggy's got 24, 30, 33. Ziggy's got 33. So 35 for William, 33 for Ziggy, 18 for Andrea, and 27 for Emily. So they're actually much higher scoring than the other game, but it did go on longer.
I would never say again.
And you were 35.
Okay, so you have it. So obviously that will propel William potentially into 3rd place. We're going to hopefully we can get the standings as quick as we can before we leave you. So thanks for joining us today. Some of those games are super quick, but some of those games are super long, and it was really weird, Elaine, to see 2 games with the same set of cards last a substantially different amount of time.
I think the second game lasted probably 3 times. They could have played the first game 3 times over in the game. The second game played. Now that's a consequence of the first game not playing the attack card, the thief. And the consequence of the second game playing a lot of those thieves.
And also someone trying to rush the end of the game in the first game and people reacting to it. People reacted to it very well. The person who rushed actually came 3rd. I think so. That's very nice.
You've got to time that transition to rushing at the end of the game very, very carefully.
So before we look at the standings for this event, we're going to look at the Pentamind if we have those available, just to see if anything's changed since we last looked at it. Results have added on a slight delay, but generally it is an updated standings that you can see on the World Mind Sports Olympiad website. So we've still got Martin in 1st. We've got Mark Tastey has just moved into 2nd. He has got a fantastic result in
the pot limit Texas Hold'em.
This is Texas Hold'em, so he must have. He didn't win that because I think it's 107 for the win. Did you say?
Yeah, it's
108 for the win.
Yeah.
So he would probably come 2nd.
Probably come 2nd.
In the heads up, so he would have lost to someone else who won. So well done to him. He has moved into 2nd place. Mark Tastey, I'm looking at. He's never medalled in the Pentamind at the moment, but he's currently lying in the silver medal position, so well done to him.
And he's got 2 fantastic scores.
They're very good, yeah. I mean, just those 2 scores alone compete with Martin's 2 best scores. Martin's just got a better 3rd score, I think. So yeah, we're brilliant, well done. We've got some other movements as well. So James Heppel is still there. He's now got, he must have lost quite early in the poker, if you look at his poker score, but he's moved up a bit thanks to that.
Actually, just as a quick aside there, James Heppel actually tried a different approach in the poker today. He was super aggressive. It was a double session. He actually tried to get himself to win the tournament in glory, or to go out with bust so that he could play in the Dominion tonight, and it hasn't worked out well for him.
Did he play in the Dominion then?
He played in the Dominion as one of the lower boards.
Okay, so we didn't see him today then.
Yeah.
So Natasha Regan's still the leading woman. We've actually got a leading senior on the plays, Riccardo Guecci.
From Italy.
Have I said that right? Oh, well done. My accent's not great. So he's there. So we've got some representation from all different potential Pentamind winners. So we're going to move on finally before we leave you to the results of the Dominion. We've seen all the leading players, so hopefully we can see where they finished and how well they did today. So
okay, let's start from third place. Ziggy won that game, and that propels him to the bronze medal position. He gets 21 points.
We miscounted his points there. We thought William had won. William is in 7th, so well done, Ziggy.
Oh, you miscounted. It was the Gardens. It was the Gardens we miscounted.
Yeah, we missed some Ziggies. So Ziggy is there. Matthew Selby had 24 points, but so well done to Matthew Selby. Danton Hope, 23. Didn't Danton win the final?
Yes, I believe Danton. I thought the tiebreak was the winner of the last game. However, we're just going to clarify that. There may be a change in that.
The winner, the tiebreak, should be High Sport played in the final round. So that it's not a tiebreak, it should be the winner of the last round should have won the event. We will double check for you.
So the better result in the final round was down to Danton, so surely that should have been... Unless the primary thing is the tournament points.
Yeah, it might be tournament points.
So, clarification, ladies and gentlemen. So the first tiebreak, the initial score in the tournament is your score that you're going to try and win the tournament with. In this case, Matthew got 24. Had there been a tie between Matthew and Danton, then the other tiebreak would have come into play, in which case Danton would have won it. Okay. So congratulations to Matthew Selby.
Yeah, well done, Matthew Selby. So Ankush Khandelwal got 19 in 4th, just missing out on a medal, but getting some Pentamind points for him. Well done, Ankush. Stephen Cairns was that other finalist. He sadly came last in the final. We saw him lose on a tiebreak earlier on as well, so he would have done much better had he won that tiebreak. So well done, Stephen, for making the final table anyway.
Last year's winner, Mike Dixon, he comes down in 8th place.
So he picked up a bit because he wasn't doing so well, so he must have probably won his last match. So well done,
he was only on 10 points, he won his last match.
Yeah, well done, Mike. So we've got some great names there, and it's nice to see a mix of people there. So Matthew Selby, first time winner of Dominion, so well done to him. I've been Steve Rain, and we thank you for joining us at the Pentamind and World Mind Sports Olympiad 2018 in London.
Thanks very much. My name's Alan Decker. I may well be back later in the week for commentary, but you'll be certainly joined by our resident expert and previous Pentamind world champion Paco de la Banda from tomorrow. What event are we doing tomorrow?
So tomorrow there's 3 events. There's Trench at 2 o'clock. There is Acquire at 4 o'clock. Apologies. Trench is at midday. Acquire is at... Oh, I've lost track of the timing now. Acquire is after that, and then
I think it's at 4.
8 o'clock.
So we've got a choir at 2 o'clock. And
choir at 2 o'clock and Blokers at 8.
Blokers at 8 o'clock.
Okay. So a big break for us in the middle. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please tune in for more Pentamind World Mind Sports Olympiad results later this week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Oh,